FBI murder rates in the city of Chicago. And we have a Democrat prosecutor. He's not enforcing the laws.
And she says New York prosecutors are doing the same thing. Republicans on the committee upset with New York DA Alvin Bragg, who is pursuing federal charges against former President Trump. And they say that's instead of focusing on what they say are crime problems in New York. He shot and killed his ex-girlfriend and now will spend 6 decades behind bars. Harrison Silcox.
The sentence was for murder, and the man serving time is William Jenkins, says the Marion County Prosecutor's Office. He was arrested for shooting his ex-girlfriend Yolanda Moffett Santiago in the head in July, almost 4 years ago. Indy Metro Police arrested Jenkins after witnesses told them the two used to date. Jenkins will spend 60 years behind bars. Harrison Silcox, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
And former Notre Dame basketball coach Mike Brey has been hired as an assistant with the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA. The Hawks currently facing the Boston Celtics in the NBA playoffs. Traffic on the 5s, Matt Baer.
Yeah, Kurt, South Meridian Street still closed to Raymond because of that structure fire in Garfield Park. Inbound 69 slows 96, 282nd and east side. Northbound 460 find time from Penn Pike up to East 56. Traffic sponsored by Indeed.com. When you need to hire, you need Indeed. The powerful hiring platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Visit Indeed.com/credit. I'm Matt Baer with traffic on the 5s. Follow us on Twitter at WIBC Traffic.
Hey folks, it's Abdul, and I'm running for mayor of Indianapolis. Now, I lived in the city for nearly 20 years, and I've seen the city at its best, and I've seen Indy at its worst, and lately, been a lot more worse. Record murders and record potholes. We can't expect different results if we re-elect the same people who are responsible for our city's problems. So go to AbdulForindy.com and read about our plans to take a tough but smart approach to dealing with crime. Read about our creative approach to dealing with road funding, and learn how we can restore public trust in government. Everyone, regardless of zip code, deserves the right to live in a neighborhood with safe streets and good roads. It's time to try something different. Paid for by Abdul for Indy.
Progressive presents Precious Moments.
Yeah, I caught my first fish, Dad.
Great job, buddy. He's a beauty.
Thanks for taking me fishing. Love you, Dad.
I love you too, son.
The exchange you just heard didn't actually happen, but it could. Bundle your home and other vehicles with Progressive and you could use the savings to make sure the boat's always ready for those magical father-son moments. Who knows, maybe someday he'll actually like fishing. So keep the dream alive and the savings coming with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
The forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Sunny and warmer as we head into the afternoon. Today's high 63. Clear skies, not as cold overnight. Should be quiet too. A low down to 43. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey for 93 WIBC.
A clear radar 38 and sunny on Monument Circle. I'm Kurt Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This hour is powered by Dammons West, Indiana's most complete garden center.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
The idea that because some guy down the street from you sold his home, you should have to pay more taxes is wholly ridiculous. The whole thing is a giant scam.
And Casey Daniels.
Sounds like the Indiana Republican Party needs to work on their P&L statements. Taking this much, you spend this much.
On 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC. It is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob Kebs here. Casey will be along in just a little bit. And we start the show with some great news. And the great news is that when you let the left talk, they will tell you exactly what they think. If you ever engage with a leftist, the greatest thing that you can do is keep the conversation going, because they will eventually say the stuff that they really think out loud. And this was the case yesterday with a U.S. representative by the name of Katie Porter. Now, we have mentioned the name Katie Porter many times on this program. We played audio from her. She is a far left radical. I mean, this woman is a complete maniac from the state of California. And she is currently running for the seat that Dianne Feinstein will be. I mean, we guess. Maybe Dianne Feinstein doesn't know, but she's about to not run for re-election on. And Katie Porter was on The View yesterday, and she said some stuff that, well, there was a time in this country that that people would be mortified to be associated with or have said out loud or associate with in any shape, form, or fashion. But in the modern political climate in which we live, there is no shame. I think that's the takeaway from the majority of the audio clips that we play on this radio show for you, especially as it relates to the left. That there is no longer any shame. The left used to be really good at not saying the quiet part out loud. We knew they thought it. We knew they believed it. We knew if they were given the levers or control the levers of government, they would enact it, but they didn't say it out loud. And now, because of the climate in which we live and because they know they will have cover no matter how crazy or insane it is from the mainstream media, because the mainstream national media is wholly invested in as much radical leftism in their government as they can possibly get. They will be cheerleaders no matter what they say. They won't be held to account no matter what they say. The left feels they can say it out loud, and thus you need to come to places like this to hear the stuff and for us to break it down for you. So here is Katie Porter on The View yesterday. This is a sitting member of the United States Representatives saying that Congress, one of the most corrupt organizations on the planet, should police the Supreme Court.
The problem is, how do you police the Supreme Court?
Well, Congress absolutely can and should police the Supreme Court. Residual power for our government is in Congress, not in the executive branch, not with the president, and not with the Supreme Court. And that's because we're the closest to the people. People elect and unelect us every 2 years. And so Congress can pass a judicial code of ethics for the Supreme Court. And when we do, by the way, we need to learn from our own mistakes with our congressional codes of ethics, in which we have seen this exact same play, which is, oops, I'll tell you about it later. And people get off the hook for it. And what it does is it erodes trust in government. It makes people think that Congress is corrupt, that court is corrupt, that they can't trust their federal officials. And I don't care what your political views are. A lack of trust in government is a terrible thing to witness in a democracy. And we all need to be part of pushing for more accountability.
I remember.
These people have no shame. Congress, one of the most corrupt organizations on the planet, where insider trading happens like it's going out of style, where people regularly somehow walk in middle-income ordinary people and come out millionaires, is talking. This woman is saying that she, Congress, should have policing power, enforcement power over the Supreme Court. You know, I didn't hear that when Obama or Clinton were making the appointments and decisions. You only heard that when a Republican president have now appointed the majority of the justices. And in this case, the last three, by and large, have been, for the most part, reliable on defending and upholding the Constitution and what it says. Not what we like, but what the Constitution actually says. Then all of a sudden, you see people like Katie Porter say that Congress, again, one of the absolute most corrupt organizations in the entire world, should police the Supreme Court. Because it is another example of the left wanting to weaponize, in this case, they want to weaponize their branch of government to put a stranglehold on the judicial branch. They want to once again essentially politicize the judicial branch. It's the same thing that you see time and time again with activist judges across this country who make rulings not based on what the Constitution says or the rule of law says, but what they feel politically. It's the same thing you're seeing in New York with Alvin Bragg jamming the largest square peg you can imagine into the smallest round hole you can imagine in order to justify prosecuting Donald Trump. The courts are supposed to be, when the founding fathers set this country up, the last bastion of independence, in which Republican doesn't matter, Democrat doesn't matter, Libertarian doesn't matter, Independent doesn't matter, apathetic doesn't matter. We are blind to politics. And more, every single day, we see an infusion of politics into our justice system and into our courts, and that is a big reason our society continues to erode. 93 WIBC, it's Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey will be here in just a little bit. More from Katie Porter on The View. And again, like I said, if you let these people keep talking, they will tell you what they want to do and what they're all ultimately about. She says she wants to be in the Senate because, well, there's twice as much power, and she gets twice as many people to work under her.
So I've absolutely loved being in the House. I love doing oversight. I love doing hearings. And the great thing about the Senate is you get to serve on twice as many committees. You get to have, I have an amazing, talented staff. You get to have twice as many staffers.
Not to work for you, not to help you, not to better uphold and defend the Constitution, not to better spread liberty and freedom. This woman, and she said it out loud, wants to be in the Senate because she will be twice as powerful. And that is ultimately what it is about for the overwhelming majority of people in the United States Congress, both the 450 people in the U.S. House of Representatives and the 100 people in the U.S. Senate. And it is true for both parties. She's silly enough to say it out loud, but it's true for both parties. Let's look right here in Indiana. And you know, one of the reasons, I don't know if you knew this, Kev does, we're number one in the money demo. And the reason we're number one in the money demo, as much as people down the street from us hate that, is because we tell you the truth about both parties. We don't have teams. We don't have sides. We don't cheerlead for anyone. We cheerlead for you. We cheerlead for you, the listener, because you are our family. And we tell you the truth about both sides. And so we can look right here in Indiana where it's not that much different of what's going on in our own upcoming Senate race than what Katie Porter is talking about. It's just the difference is she says it out loud. Look at Jim Banks, who's going to be a U.S. Senator, and he's likely going to run unopposed, and the Democrats will put some radical lunatic up against him, and he'll win 65, 70% of the vote. When you talk about it being about absolute power, look at Jim Banks. What did he do? He ran for leadership in the House of Representatives. Why? Well, at the time, he said it's because I want to bring a conservative voice to the House of Representatives. I want to bring a conservative voice to power in the U.S. House and rise conservatism in the U.S. House. Great. Let's go. And he runs. And apparently Jim was not very popular with his House colleagues, maybe because he hasn't accomplished much in the time he's been there. And he was resoundingly rejected by his House colleagues for power. What did he do? He didn't stay and fight. He didn't say, I'm going to hold Kevin McCarthy and this leftist group that we elected to many leadership positions in the House accountable. He voted for Kevin McCarthy 15 times for Speaker. And it is going to happen, and you're going to see it on the debt ceiling, that Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans, as they always do, are going to stab you in the back. What's the next thing Jim Banks did? Why did he kiss the ring finger of Kevin McCarthy? Not because he really likes Kevin McCarthy. I actually don't think Jim Banks and Kevin McCarthy are aligned politically. He kissed the ring finger of Kevin McCarthy because he knew his next move was to run for the United States Senate. And he knew the only way he could lose is if Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy and their merry band of misfits heavily funded a candidate like Mitch McConnell did Todd Young in 2016, in which they destroyed Marlon Stutzman with millions and millions of dollars in negative television advertising. Jim Banks is a smart dude. He knew that. My point is on all of this, for the overwhelming majority of these people, it is about their own power and their own influence, and they don't care about you at all. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, there was a big event that took place in New York yesterday. Jim Jordan and the members of the United States House of Representatives held a hearing there to showcase the violence that's going on in New York City and Manhattan, and how Alvin Bragg is doing nothing about that, yet is obsessed with prosecuting Donald Trump. There was some incredible audio from that yesterday. We'll play it for you coming up next.
The pothole. Formed in colder months, tiny fissures are born, and in no time at all, they grow into big,
gigantic tire killers.
That's why you need Matt Baird Traffic.
Watch out on Keystone Avenue.
He'll guide you around these hidden monsters.
Yeah, might as well call it a basement.
And on to safer ground.
You don't want to be in the far left lane.
Mornings and afternoons on 93 WIBC.
For the first time ever since opening its doors, the Indianapolis Men's Clinic is now the only men's health organization offering an intimacy guarantee. That's right. If you don't perform, you don't pay. You heard that right. Restoring intimacy is important to everyone. Helping men with a proven solution is what drives success. That's why the Indianapolis Men's Clinic stands by their intimacy guarantee. Now you will have the assurance and confidence of proven outcomes without the fear of financial loss. By using the latest technology for the treatment of ED, acoustic wave therapy uses pressure waves to open existing blood vessels, which restores spontaneity and intimacy for you and your loved one. Stop trusting companies that feed you empty promises with no results. Trust an intimacy guarantee. Trust the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. Call the Indianapolis Men's Clinic today. 317-999-9000. That's 317-999-9000 or IndianapolisMen'sClinic.com.
Doing more in the community means that I get out and I volunteer.
Hi, I'm Hannah Yeagerbush here at Teachers Treasures, and we nominated David Barabee because he's such a great volunteer leader. He does so much for us to make our mission possible to serve teachers in Marion County.
And I'm Jiffy Lube owner Jennifer Sanner. At Jiffy Lube, we are rewarding Hoosier volunteers who use their vehicle to do more to make Indiana a better place to live.
My vehicle really allows me the ability to be where they need me. Either downtown, at the store, or out on a route, or working for the mobile operation.
Each month, Jiffy Lube of Indiana provides a volunteer free vehicle maintenance for a year, whether it's someone who delivers smiles and supplies or drives somewhere to serve on site. Jiffy Lube supports local givers who count on their car to do more for Indy, and we love to hear their stories.
If you know a volunteer who impacts your community, nominate them today to receive a year's worth of free vehicle maintenance. Just click the Do More tab at JiffyLubeIndiana.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-838-2626. That's 800-838-2626. 800-838-2626.
Chapters of this story take a whole month to tell. This is May. It starts with twists and turns on the IMS road course for the GMR Grand Prix. Then PPG presents Armed Forces Indy 500 qualifying and the Firestone Fast 6 shootout. May continues with Indy's biggest party, Miller Lite Card Day. And all roads lead to the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500 presented by Gamebridge. This is where heroes become legends and legends become legendary. This is May. Buy now and save. Get tickets at IMS.com.
We've all dealt with a contractor who doesn't make you a priority. At Indy Decorative Concrete, we are invested in each of our customers and strive to make the project effortless from start to finish. Indy Decorative Concrete, big enough to service, but small enough to care.
Damon's Garden Center West has endless varieties of trees, shrubs, vegetables, flowers, hanging baskets, plus garden and landscape supplies, and a friendly and helpful staff at Damon's West on Rockville Road.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
German? Forget it, he's rolling.
People in government get really upset when you point out how they're not doing their job. 93 WIBC. It's Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob Kevs here. Casey will join us here in just a little bit. So Jim Jordan and the Republicans decided to hold a hearing yesterday in Manhattan to point out the out-of-control violence there. And they did this primarily to showcase how Alvin Bragg, the district attorney there, is doing nothing to curtail. In many cases, he is even enabling the violence there, while obsessively going after Donald Trump. And we get this here on this show quite a bit from our friends down the street from us at 200 West Washington, where when we talk about the gas tax, or we talk about the property tax, or we talk about them allocating $1.5 million in raises for themselves, the lawmakers and their Republican friends get really angry when we have the audacity to talk about it. And they call me names and they say bad things about me, and that's fine. Not because they can refute what we're telling you. You notice they never come in here and refute what we're telling you, because what we're telling you is the truth. They're mad we're telling you about how they're abusing your finances. And so just as we talked about in the first segment, this is a bipartisan thing. Government letting you down, government being political at your expense, government not putting you first, government putting the political interests ahead of you is not a Democrat or Republican thing. These people are bipartisan offenders. And in the case of Alvin Bragg, district attorney there in New York, who is trying to push through just ridiculous charges against Donald Trump, he is putting politics ahead of doing his job for the people, which is to help keep them safe and administer justice. And the Democrats were enraged yesterday that Jim Jordan and the Republicans had the hearing there, not because they can refute what the Republicans are pointing out, which is violence is out of control in New York and Alvin Bragg is not doing anything about it and is in many ways enabling it while obsessively going after Donald Trump. They can't refute that. So what do? The Democrats there, and we're about to play you a piece of audio for that, they start name-calling the Republicans the same way as the Republicans here start name-calling me and us on our show, because they can't refute what we're telling you about property taxes or gas taxes or giving themselves raises. It's just easier to name-call the people giving you the information. Here's Democrat Hank Johnson of Georgia calling the Republicans here who are having this hearing, who are pointing out the out-of-control violence in New York. He's not concerned about that. He's not concerned about making New York a safer place. He's concerned that it is being pointed out that there is out-of-control violence in New York, and all the Republicans that are there are a bunch of jackbooted thugs.
Like jackbooted thugs, they've descended on New York City using violent crime as their pretext. The MAGA Republican extremists are not interested in gun violence or even knife violence. The Republican witnesses who have used their time to criticize District Attorney Bragg have served as props in a MAGA Broadway production. The real purpose in coming to New York City.
Can we have order?
The real purpose in coming to New York City.
Gentlemen, will suspend.
He's not interested at all in helping the people of New York. He's not interested at all, Hank Johnson, Democrat from Georgia, not interested at all in making society safer. He's not interested at all in pointing out, yeah, you know what? You got these really major issues here, and, well, these trumped-up charges, no pun intended, probably aren't a great use of taxpayer time or resources. No, he's interested in putting politics ahead of people, and it's the exact same thing they're doing down the street from me. I hope if you walk away from this show every single day, I hope you walk away with one thing, if nothing else, and that is to realize that these politicians in both parties are interested in themselves and their club sport and protecting their party and their tribe above you. They don't care about you at all. All right, when we come back, Micah's going to join us. We'll talk about the Senate Republicans in Indiana telling you to kick rocks on property tax relief. Also, the Republicans are about to raise the gas tax. So much of your money going out the window. We'll talk about it coming up next.
Get a great deal on versatile Kubota equipment today, like Kubota BX and L Series compact tractors, part of our tractor lineup rated #1 in durability and owner experience, Z Series mowers, and Sidekick utility vehicles. Stop by your local Kubota dealer today. Bring home select BX Series equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $800 now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more details.
Stop by McAllister Machinery in Fishers and Indianapolis to see their full line of Kubota, or visit them online at McAllisterKubota.com.
World-changing question. Are you keeping as much of your investment gains as possible? High taxes can erode returns quickly, so you need a tax-optimized portfolio. At Creative Planning, our money managers and specialists work together to make sure your portfolio and wealth are managed in a tax-efficient manner. It's what you keep that really matters. Why not give your wealth a second look? Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
This is Scott Willis running for mayor of Westfield. As a colonel in the United States Marines, I stood up for our country, our families, and our values. As mayor, I have the leadership and vision to make Westfield a world-class city. How do we build a world-class city without losing the qualities we love? We do it with transparency, integrity, and smart leadership. I am a lifelong Republican. I'll work to diversify our tax base and to lower residential taxes. On Election Day, experience matters. I'm Scott Willis, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Paid for by Willis for Westfield.
We have the best technicians in the business here at Family. They'll take care of you every time. 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air, your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Leaving no stone unturned. It's 41 and sunny on Monument Circle. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:30. The Defense Department is still assessing the scope and scale of the recent leak of classified documents. Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh told reporters yesterday that Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered a comprehensive review of measures taken to protect classified information.
There could be more documents that are being circulated online. That is something that this investigation is looking into. That's something that the department is looking into.
The Pentagon also emphasizing that there are no U.S. troops conducting combat operations in Ukraine. An appeals court has upheld former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin's conviction for George Floyd's murder. Chauvin claimed that he was unable to get a fair trial due to media coverage and the threat of possible protests. I-70 in Hancock County just got a lot harder to navigate with a road closure that starts today, Matt Baer.
The on-ramp from Mount Comfort Road to eastbound I-70 is scheduled to close for around 2 months or mid-June, while crews work to widen the busy interstate from Mount Comfort Road to east of State Road 9. In the meantime, you can jump on eastbound I-70 at Post Road that's just to the east of Indianapolis. The whole project is going to take a minute. The last lane should be ready to roll in the fall of 2024. Questions? Tweet Matt in traffic. From the WIBC Traffic Center, I'm Matt Baer.
And now the stock report. Another good start to the day. The Dow was up 18 at the opening bell to 34,147. The Nasdaq up 98 to 13,285. And the S&P 500 is up 17 to 4,194. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Why? Just think about it. Why is the #1 selling brand of chainsaws not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot? We can give you over 10,000 reasons. That's how many authorized local steel dealers you can find across the country. Visit one and you'll find a range of dependable gas and battery-powered tools, from trimmers to blowers. And you'll find service from experienced professionals. Real steel. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-924-4418. 800-924-4418. 800-924-4418.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Amen. Amen.
It's time to go to church. Here to preach to the choir from the bully pulpit, Pastor Micah Beckwith.
93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey Show. Let's go to the drivehubler.com hotline, joined by the conservative voice of the state of Indiana, Pastor Micah Beckwith. All right, Beckwith, your your Republican friends, there ain't many conservatives left over there. The Republicans in the Senate told the taxpayers to kick rocks on property tax reform. Have you defriended all these people on Facebook?
No, I haven't defriended them, but at the same time, I think you're right. You're right on this issue, Rob. Like, you're spot on. I don't know what the heck the legislature is doing. They had a political grand slam. If they could have addressed the property tax issue, if they could have helped Hoosiers out and got us relief, it would have been a win that would have probably politically secured their seats for many more years to come. But I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know. I think maybe the teachers are having some backhanded, play in this where they're saying, don't touch our taxes. We don't want our school funding to drop. I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I'm like, they missed it. This was something they should have addressed, and they didn't do it. You've been right all along on this issue, and I wish they would have listened to you.
Maybe I ought to run for governor. What do you think?
I think people would love it. I think it would be the gift that keeps on giving. So
I just, Michael, I don't, and our audience hears this almost every single day. I just don't understand, because you have local governments that have so much money they don't even know how to spend all of it, and yet you are the party of low taxes and limited government, and you're just refusing. I mean, deliberately refusing to do anything to help people in need. You have budgets that are just busting at the seams on the local level. These property taxes are so high. And then the Republicans get handed this total win, and they go, nah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, hey, guys, couldn't we tighten the belt of government? Oh, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to hurt the spending and the income of government. And these guys go in there saying, we're not for government, we're for the people. And yet when they get in there, they lose sight of the vision. They lose sight of the people. They get surrounded by the pomp and circumstance of, being down at the State House, and then they just kind of forget about the people. And, we're having to tighten our belts all over the place because of Joe Biden's inflation. And it's like, come on, government, you can cut corners. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be once this budget plays out, but I know the last budget, we had 63% of our budget went to education, and our entire budget in Indiana. And I'm looking around at some of our schools, and I'm hearing them say, "We want more money. We want more money." I'm thinking to myself, "Good Lord, could we not just tighten the belt a little bit somewhere in government so that the people could have a little relief?" And I told you this yesterday in text message, Rob, but if Lord willing, I run again, I'm going to make property taxes a big part of my messaging. Like, let's get the taxes under control. Let's save the little guy in Indiana so that we can just live our life and not have to worry about, do I put gas in the car today or do I buy groceries?
Micah Beckwith, our guest. Yeah, so that, and especially in light of this video coming out that we've obviously played, Tony's played, Hammer Nigel played. I mean, it's all over the Fox News, where you've got these superintendents, these assistant superintendents, these administrators at public schools all across the state admitting, yeah, we do the CRT, we do the SEL, we do the DEI, and we cover it up from people because we know they don't want it. And this is who the Republican legislature goes, yeah, just keep giving them more money and screw you, taxpayers.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because Republicans, like my senator and some other people that I know, whenever I said, hey, there's CRT in the schools, they would say the exact same talking points. They'd be like, where? No, it's not happening. Like, we hear you saying this, Beckwith. We hear the parents that are upset about this, but it's not happening in Indiana. I got this from Republicans all over the place, including my own reps and my own senators, and they would say, no, it's not happening. And now this video comes out exposing everything that we knew to be true, that we've been saying for the last 2.5 years. It's happening, and yet the Republicans still err on the side of giving more to these superintendents, to these administrative states that we have in education. And I just want people to remember that these are government employees. Teachers are government employees. Now, that doesn't mean that they're bad people. I mean, it's just the same thing with police officers. We saw in 2020 there was an uprising and people said we have to reform policing. Police officers are government employees. 99% of them are great people. That's great. But there are bad apples. And what for some reason in Indiana in education, we're not allowed to call out the bad apples, because the moment you do, then you get labeled this hater. You hate kids. You hate teachers. The angry red-shirted teachers are going to storm the beach, and they're going to, all this. And
but can I just say, I love the fact that across the state of Indiana, angry red-shirted teachers is now in the vernacular of so many people. I don't know if anything has ever made me prouder as far as politics or radio, Beckwith.
Well, you got some influence there, Rob. I think you're a trendsetter.
Well, okay. So Micah Beckwith is our guest, and you mentioned if you run for office again, and property taxes being the central part of that, and I think it's a slam dunk winner. So, are you saying today you're prepared to declare I'm running for lieutenant governor of the state of Indiana?
Not yet. But hey, we're there's a couple different roads and avenues that we're looking at, and it's this is 2024, Rob. We're still in 2023, so I like what I'm doing right now, being the pastor, and I just I speak truth anywhere I can, and if the Lord opens the door, I mean, I'll get in there. I hear it all the time from people all over the place. They come to me and say, "Please run," and that's humbling, and that means a lot that they would put their trust in me to do something like that. But at the same time, too, I don't necessarily want to do it. I think that's a good quality. I think most people who want to be in office or want power shouldn't have it, and we want to find those people in society to say, "Hey, listen, I'll do it. I'll serve for a season."
Yeah, but you got to do it, because you've got three people running on the Republican side who don't have an original thought between them. They're incredibly boring. They're incredibly uncreative. And like you're talking about with property taxes, and they just they've got this bill in the Senate that's going to raise the gas tax again, which is about to pass. Mike Kreider's bill. Somebody's got to be in there to say, look, I am here to be an agitator. I am here to be for the people. I am not here to be for the Republican Party, and I am here to call out the bullcrap that you people pull on a regular basis. And I think you are the only person who wants to do it, who can do it.
Well, and I would certainly do that. I mean, you know me, Rob. I certainly call out the bull crap anytime I see it, and I think being in there, I would absolutely do that. Why in the heck are we even considering raising taxes anywhere at all? Like right now in 2023, when our economy is crashing, when people are hurting, no Republican across the nation should be even uttering the words tax increase. Like, that's, to me, I am just absolutely beside myself when they're talking about raising taxes, like on the gas tax, when our property taxes are through the roof, when our dollar has very little value anymore, when moms and dads are just trying to put food on the table. And here we have Republicans in the state of Indiana saying, oh, let's raise taxes. It ticks me off to no end.
Micah Beckwith, our guest, couple minutes left here with him. All right, the NRA was here. Pence got booed. That made me very happy. How did you feel about seeing a career professional grifter get booed at the NRA?
Well, I've said this about Mike Pence. I've always liked his his unapologetic faith. I mean, he'll get up, he'll champion faith. I believe he really loves the Lord. But this is what I've said about Mike Pence since probably 2020, since the January 6th stuff went down, and even going back to his time as governor. He's not a fighter. When we need someone to fight the Marxists, the leftists that are trying to rip our country apart, he won't do it. I mean, we saw what happened with RFRA. He backed down from the fight when it came to RFRA. We saw what happened January 6th. He actually did have the constitutional authority to put a 10-day hold on, or just to say, hey, get your electors right. Like states like Pennsylvania that overturned their constitution to do what they did. Like he, as the head of the Senate, the president of the Senate, and over the Electoral College, he actually had the right to say, whoa, we're going to put an emergency hold on this, and he didn't do it. And I think it was because he was scared. He didn't want to fight. And now, I'll give you this example too. This past summer, Rob, when we were going through Senate Bill 1, the abortion bill, finally Roe was overturned, and Indiana had the awesome responsibility of being the first state after Roe was overturned to put an abortion ban in place. Mike Pence was nowhere to be found. I was down at the State House. I didn't see Mike Pence. He's a champion of life, and he wasn't even around. And you know who did come, though, to Indiana? It was the sitting vice president, Kamala Harris. She came to Indiana. She came to Indianapolis to champion abortion. But Mike Pence wasn't anywhere to be found. I'm thinking to myself, where is the fighter that we need to defend our liberties? And I think that's why he probably got booed, to be honest with you. I think people just are saying, listen, man, you're not a fighter, and I like you as a person. I think you're a good Christian man, but, man, we have got to send fighters into this battle.
I'm very excited for you to be lieutenant governor so we can set up our radio show outside the lieutenant governor's office, and some burly security man will not be kicking me out of the building. Is that wrong I am just totally self-interested?
I would love it, man. That's going to be absolutely happening. So.
If you want a zoo at the State House, vote for Beckwith. Micah Beckwith, thank you, my friend.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
93 WIBC, it's the Kendall and Casey Show. Hey, guys, very important question for you. If you could get a 35% bonus when you invest your money, would you take it? Like if you invest $100,000, you'd get a $35,000 bonus. If you invest $200,000, you get a $70,000 bonus. This could happen, and learn how it could happen and how you could get a 35% bonus from Bill Demery, your retirement guy. Casey and I believe in Bill so much, we became clients too. Not only will you get a 35% bonus, you'll sleep well at night knowing your money is backed by an A-plus insurance company that's been in business for 140 years. And has $2.5 trillion in assets. To learn how you could get your 35% bonus, call 317-932-9912. It's Bill Demery at 317-932-9912.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, 2 shootings and 1 stomping. We've got the full coverage. It's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
For the first time ever since opening its doors, the Indianapolis Men's Clinic is now the only men's health organization offering an intimacy guarantee. That's right. If you don't perform, you don't pay. You heard that right. Restoring intimacy is important to everyone. Helping men with a proven solution is what drives success. That's why the Indianapolis Men's Clinic stands by their intimacy guarantee. Now you will have the assurance and confidence of proven outcomes without the fear of financial loss. By using the latest technology for the treatment of ED, acoustic wave therapy uses pressure waves to open existing blood vessels, which restores spontaneity and intimacy for you and your loved one. Stop trusting companies that feed you empty promises with no results. Trust an intimacy guarantee. Trust the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. Call the Indianapolis Men's Clinic today. 317-999-9000. That's 317-999-9000 or IndianapolisMen'sClinic.com.
Mom, Dad, Sis?
Here we go again.
Why are you in a suit? Picture, if you will, a world with the best network imaginable. I'm talking about the Xfinity 10G network.
Go on.
Mom, remember how your reality shows wouldn't load with all of us online? Now you can binge. And Susie, we'll have fast internet in the basement.
Nice.
If you have any questions, here's my card.
This is just your name on a gum wrapper.
Introducing the 10G network only from Xfinity. The future starts now. Now through April 23rd, new customers can get 200 megabit Xfinity internet during our limited time Xfinity 10G network launch celebration for just $25 a month for 2 years. Plus, there's no annual contract required and you get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
In a wreck, you need an attorney who knows how to fight and knows how to win. WeWin.com.
WeWin.com.
I'm attorney Darryl Isaacs. We'll fight day and night to get you the money you deserve.
WeWin.com.
WeWin.com.
And with over $1 billion recovered for our clients, we know how to win.
WeWin.com.
If you're injured in a wreck, we're ready to fight for you.
Isaacs and Isaacs.
The winning team you know and trust. WeWin.com.
WeWin.com.
There's nothing more important than time. Time for you and time for family. If issues like high blood pressure or high cholesterol run in your family, make time for highly skilled heart care too. At Indiana University Health, you can book a same-day appointment with the state's most preferred provider of cardiovascular care. See a top cardiologist today, then get back to what's most important without skipping a beat. Visit iuhealth.org/heart to book your appointment today.
Are your investments going nowhere? Here's a tip that always pays big dividends. Invest in yourself, your talent, your smarts, your skills. Maybe it's time to make that investment and start a career in IT or upskill to boost your current career. At My Computer Career, you can bank on us. We'll help you get the right skills and the right certifications to start or advance your IT career. IT keeps growing, so go with the growth at My Computer Career. The right training, the right timing, the right career. Invest in you at mycomputercareer.edu. Start now.
Good morning, 9:49. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
You want to tell everybody where you were?
No, I don't. I really don't.
For those of you who are just tuning in, Casey missed the first 3 segments of the show today, and she was.
What are you going to say?
No,
Rob?
I was just saying to you. I just thought you might want to let the audience know what was going on.
Aren't you grateful that I'm here? That
I'm
I made
so
it?
happy you made it back in one piece and in a timely fashion and in one just you're safe and sound.
Okay, we'll get to the bottom of it eventually, but I'm grateful that you and Kevin held down the fort. So let's talk about Kevin McCarthy. He pledged yesterday to pass legislation to raise the nation's debt ceiling. He said there is one condition. We're going to cap the future federal spending increases at 1%.
And see, this is why you should have absolutely no faith in the Republicans, because he came out and already told you, well, no matter what, we're going to do it. So, I mean, this is why, and we're going to play some audio here of McCarthy complaining about Biden not meeting with him. If you're Biden, why would you meet with Kevin McCarthy?
Exactly. He doesn't have to, because McCarthy already said that entitlements are off the table. They're not going to touch it. So Biden doesn't need to negotiate?
Absolutely. And the track record of the Republicans is at the end of the day, they almost always roll over and play dead, and they give in to whatever the Democrats want, and they're not serious. I mean, the Republicans, for all this talk about debts and deficit spending, it was the Republicans who printed $5 trillion during COVID. It's not like Kevin McCarthy, there's any track record where you'd go, wow, he's got a real track record of being a hard ass and a fiscal hawk. It's not Thomas Massey that you're dealing with here. Kevin McCarthy is one of the establishment. He is one of the people, McConnell and Schumer and those people. He had to say what he had to say to become the speaker, and he's kept up a strong face. But all this, keep seeing these things that they send out. In the first 100 days, we've da-da-da. No, you haven't, because none of it got passed. It all died in the Senate, and if it had passed the Senate, you knew it was going to get vetoed by you. Ain't done nothing. You've done stuff that you can send out in a press release to try to fool stupid people into think you're working. You have all the power right now. Whatever Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans do with the debt ceiling, you will see what they are serious about.
Okay, so he said yesterday when he spoke at the New York Stock Exchange that the nation's debt load is a ticking time bomb. Went on to say that we're now $31 trillion in debt. That's more than the entire economy of America. He said it's unsustainable. He said Biden is missing in action. He went on to say that Biden and the Senate have ignored the crisis.
Yeah, but
he really kind of made Biden sound like a big baby. But at the end of the day, he's the one who's going to roll over.
Well, exactly. And time out. Doesn't that just enrage you, Casey? Because he did it. McCarthy and his Republican colleagues printed all that money. They created the new baseline on all of this during COVID. Mm-hmm. And let's not act like they were balancing budgets before COVID. They were running deficits in the hundreds of billions of dollars pre-COVID. This is disgusting when these people do this. And people all the time say, why are you so hard on this guy? Because he's a charlatan. He desperately wanted to be Speaker of the House, and he said and continues to say whatever he needs to keep himself in that position. But the results are going to show you. I already know how this play is going to end. You may get some minor irrelevant spending cuts that in the grand scheme of things are the equivalent of if I looked at you and said, here is $1. Am I giving you $1? Yes. Does that help your financial situation?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Mayor Boss Hogsett giving me $100 credit on my property taxes, even though my bill raised $500 overall.
Absolutely. And let's point out, though, credit where credit's due, Joe Hogsett has done more for property tax relief than the entire Indiana Republican Party. Here is McCarthy whining about Joe Biden.
I met with President Biden at the White House on February 1st. 75 days ago. During our meeting, I told the president clearly, let's find a way to come to an agreement. Like we have before. Had the president agreed to negotiate in good faith, we'd already be done. Unfortunately, I have not heard from the White House since our very first meeting. President Biden has been missing in action and misleading the public. Mr. President, with all due respect, enough is enough.
What does that even mean, Casey? We don't even know what his demands are. You know what he should do? I am demanding a balanced budget. And if we are not talking about a balanced budget, then we out of here and good luck on the default.
Yeah.
That would tell me he's serious. Instead of this, he hasn't called me in 75 days. And come back to the table and please.
He said he's missing in action. No, he's not. He's been in Ireland on vacation with the fam. He's been parading Hunter around Ireland, so he's not missing in action.
He did say, and he did admit it out loud, which is amazing since Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans printed $5 trillion in 2020, spending limits will curb inflation.
I have full confidence that if we limit our federal spending, if we save the taxpayer money, if we grow our economy, yes, we will end the dependence on China. We will curb inflation, and we will protect Social Security and Medicare for the next generation. And America will be stronger for it.
He's so full of crap. Sorry. He's so full of crap. His whole party's so full of crap because if they believed that, the Republicans had all levers of government from 2016 through 2018. What'd they do? They kept running up hundreds of billions of dollars in deficits. They don't care about this. They don't care about you at all. Inflation wasn't something they just snapped their fingers on. We've been building up an almost $32 trillion national debt over years and years and years. Many, many years it was run and added to by the Republicans. He is so full of crap, and he doesn't believe it. If you hooked him up to a lie detector test, that thing would start going, It'd start smoking. They'd have to abandon the building, and yet people just, in the Republican Party just go, oh, Republicans are getting serious.
All right, it is 9:56. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Good morning.
I don't
don't like to walk downtown anymore. Only when I have to. Even during the day, there's so many out on the street, aggressive. I mean, I feel terrible for them, but at the same time, I don't feel safe. Every night, there's another story on the news. Another shooting, something violent. And it's not even in one area, it's all over the city. Just the other day, a woman was robbed at gunpoint at church. At church. I heard that so far this year, our murder rate is higher than Chicago. Chicago! I'm proud of Indianapolis. That's just not what I think of, what I think Indianapolis should be. The only thing I can think to do differently is I have to vote differently, starting now, until it gets better. So I'm going to vote for Shreve in May. Maybe Hogsett gets the message. Or maybe we get a new mayor in November.
Paid for by Shreve for mayor.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Hey, good morning. It's Casey, and let's talk about Galaxy Concrete Coating for indoor and outdoor concrete. Whether it's for your garage, custom floor coating, driveway, pool deck, even the patio, they can do it all. And here's a review. As a realtor, I tour hundreds of homes each year, and I always have admired garages that were finished and had coated floors. It looks great, stays cleaner, it feels soft on your feet, and it actually protects the concrete from cracking. All true. Call Galaxy Concrete Coating today. 317-751-9070, or they're online, galaxyconcretecoatings.com.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language in as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Coming up in 2 minutes, John Herrick has a story about a new deadline for some Hoosiers to file their taxes this year. Plus, back to normal for students in one Madison County school district after a rough day yesterday, and how one college is helping change the stigma behind autism. I'm Kurt Darling. All that and more coming up from the Peterman Brothers Heating, Plumbing, and Electrical Studios. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 10 o'clock.
Where did COVID come from? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The House committee investigating that has just started another hearing.
A lab leak is the only explanation credibly supported by our intelligence, by science, and by common sense.
Former Director of National Intelligence John Radcliffe says he's had access to more intel than most, and politics got in the way of finding the source in the early days before COVID became a pandemic.
When a lab leak assessment was initially labeled falsely and falsely reported with near unanimity as a conspiracy theory.
A Republican Senate report out today suggests there may have been 2 leaks, but Raul Ruiz, the top Democrat on the committee, says 4 government agencies have concluded
that the virus came about through natural transmission. As it stands,
he says there's no consensus. Another hearing about to start will focus on gun violence after even more recent mass shootings.
The head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives will testify before a House Appropriations Subcommittee. Director Steve Dettelbach is likely to echo the Biden administration's calls for stricter gun laws, but it's unclear what can be passed with a divided Congress.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz. Republicans prefer a focus on mental health and securing schools. A former postal worker is delivering a case to the Supreme Court this hour involving religious rights.
Gerald Groff, he was a mail carrier. He started out filling in for other people's shifts. He was kind of a backup, but he told them from the beginning when he started working that he didn't want to work on Sundays. For him, he observes it as the Sabbath.
Fox's Shannon Bream outside the court says as the U.S. Postal Service did more business with Amazon delivering packages,
he began to get in trouble for not working on Sundays. They said it put a burden on the employer to constantly cover for him.
A jailed American journalist was in a glass cage in court today in Russia, where Evan Gershkovich lost his bid to be set free. He's accused of being a spy, charges the U.S. call baseless, demanding his release. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A new deadline for some. It's 42 and sunny downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:02. Your taxes are due today, but if you were a victim of storm damage in Indiana, it's a little different. John Herrick explains.
You might remember the damage that the tornadoes and other storms caused across the state, both March 31st and April 1st. If you have a home or business that was harmed by those storms and you're in one of the counties that the president put under a disaster declaration, then you now have until July 31st to file your business and personal tax returns and make tax payments. The disaster declaration was for 12 counties in Indiana. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Students are back to normal today at schools in Alexandria. The details still aren't clear, but state police were called to Alexandria High School Monday because of an active threat, as they put it.
At this time, we've located no active threat and no injuries to any students at the school.
Sergeant Scott Keegan with State Police. The building was evacuated and classes were canceled Monday as a precaution. In New York City, you've probably heard Republicans accusing the city's prosecuting attorney of misusing his office in going after former President Trump. Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz in a House hearing says that DA Alvin Bragg needs to focus on reining in his city's crime problem first.
We have a serious problem with our criminal justice system. Our government is set up to protect people's rights to life, liberty, and property, and it's not doing it.
On the other hand, Democrats saying that policies clamping down on guns are curtailing violence in New York. More residence halls are coming to Purdue University. The Board of Trustees has approved the new buildings. That was in a vote last night. Construction starts this summer. April is Autism Awareness Month.
We've had a history of a lot of negative connotations around a diagnosis of autism, which has limited some professionals from diagnosing.
But that has changed, says Hannah Melton, autism coordinator for Marian University. She says that they have a program which provides guidance and support to students who are on the autism spectrum. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Your neighbor Mark loves spring in Indy, but he hates to paint. So he called Rhino Shield.
It's a two-story home built in 1992. Around 2001, looking at needing to paint, I heard a radio ad, with a Rhino Shield, you won't have to paint again for another 25 years.
That's because Rhino Shield's not paint, it's better.
They're very professional. We had everything done. Everything that would typically be painted on a house was done, and it was very fast.
All right, Indy, get the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield right now for 15% off the regular price.
It was done in 2001, and still going strong. From what I've seen on our home, they can easily offer a 25-year guarantee and not worry about it.
Here's owner Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Don't paint. Don't vinyl. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hubler makes it easy to get your perfect car or truck. Get your vehicle your way. They'll help you pre-order a vehicle built just for you. Visit drivehubler.com.
This hour is powered by Dammons West, Indiana's most complete garden center.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
The idea that because some guy down the street from you sold his home, you should have to pay more taxes is wholly ridiculous. The whole thing is a giant scam.
And Casey Daniels.
Sounds like the Indiana Republican Party needs to work on their P&L statements. Taking this much, you spend this much.
On 93 WIBC.
So much drama going on in public education. And when we talk public education, well, we've got a guy. 93 WIBC. It is the Kendall and Casey Show. Let's go to the drivehubler.com hotline. You know him from the Tony Kennett Show. Heard Saturdays here in WIBC. Also the Daily Signal. Tony, we're going to get to all the drama in Brownsburg. But first, I guess I'm not really surprised, but I am kind of surprised at the response from these public education systems across Indiana whose administrators were caught on tape saying we do CRT, we do SEL, we do DEI, and we cover it up. They're basically telling parents, well, it doesn't matter what you saw, you didn't see what you thought you saw.
I mean, that's really what's amazing, and I would say more so, maybe not amazing, but as expected. watching the Indiana media completely ignore it. And of course, Attorney General Rokita criticized that. He asked where on earth all of the media was covering what has become quite a scandal. But of course, you and I know the answer to that. We don't have to ask the question into the ether. You and I know that it's not convenient for a lot of those public school obsessed diehards to admit that some of us were right all along. It doesn't really help their credibility.
Yeah, but it just blows my mind that it's like Plainfield, Martinsville. We don't teach CRT. We don't do that. Well, your administrator that's caught on tape essentially says that you do, and the reason we don't know that you do is because you cover it up.
It's really amazing, again, to hear the phrase repeated that we have to keep it under the radar, as though we can't trust parents to know what's going on in schools, because if we do, well, those parents. And it's, again, just the reaffirmation of the belief and the data-driven proof that public school administrators think that they are better than parents when it comes to the care of children in each and every way.
Yeah, and you said something last week, and look, Tony, it's very, very rare. Because, one, it's very rare that I'm ever wrong, that I admit to being wrong. And I said yesterday on this show, and I've said for the last several days, I am so disappointed in Plainfield because they are the one school system that I've, for 15 years now, vouched for. I've said, they fly the flag, they have Flag Day, they support the police, they support the military. It's not going on at Plainfield. And then there's a Plainfield administrator on this tape saying we do the stuff and we cover it up and deceive the parents. And you made the great point last week on this show. You said, you can't trust any of them because they're all doing it.
And again, the worst part is the teachers are the ones taking the blame for it. So there are a lot of really great teachers that don't want anything to do with this. Yet when I was a teacher, we were herded into amphitheaters, auditoriums, and cafeterias. And I'm speaking from experience in one cold morning at Lawrence North, in which high school principal Brett Krausor told all of us that we needed to compare our black male students' test scores, and whoever of us had the worst average black male student test scores was the most racist teacher and needed to work on our white privilege. And funnily enough, here's the catch. I was not, I'm a conservative kind of guy, and I was, of course, upset, but it wasn't just the right-wing individuals in the room who were pissed. Everyone in that room was incensed at the kind of language that has now become the norm in American education from these administrators who have another degree from Ball State. I sat in class with a lot of those administrators, and let me tell you, they're not that impressive.
Yeah. Tony Kennett's our guest. You can hear him Saturdays 1 to 3 here on WIBC. Tony Kennett Show. Also find him over at the Daily Signal. So let's turn our attention to Brownsburg, my neck of the woods, and obviously multiple news agencies reporting that 2 teachers have been terminated in regards to mistreatment of a special education student. 3 more under investigation, according to comments made by the Brownsburg Police Department in Indy Star. There is criminal investigation going on with this. There's supposedly a video of this. I mean, this is a really, really, really bad look for the Brownsburg Community School Corporation.
And it's par for the course because a lot of special education administration in the state and maintaining that school officials follow individualized education or IEP and then 504 law have been, we've been lazy. We've been lax in the last couple of years for 2 reasons. Number one, because everyone and their brother has a mental illness or disability now. And that is a part of it. There are now like dozens and dozens and dozens of kids at schools who have categorized mental illnesses, which takes away from the attention that needs to be given to students who are life skills students who have actual genuine mental illnesses that need addressed, cared for, and looked after. So that's the first problem. The second problem is you have a lot of teachers, again, who think once they get to the school, they can just do whatever they want. After all, who cares about the parent? Who cares about the student? Who cares about the decorum that used to come with being a teacher? Remember when being a teacher used to have like a series of social rules that you would follow and that they were supposed to be upstanding members of the society? And now we have these situations of abuse coming out that I would consider, if these allegations, again, are confirmed, and I believe that if these teachers are held to the fullest extent of the law, this is a situation that is tantamount to the hidden rape case in Loudoun County. Abusing a child with a mental disability is one of the most grotesque things that I could possibly fathom. And it's horrible if, again, I'm waiting to see every bit of evidence filed out. But as soon as that evidence does come out, if that's true, then Lord help us, how horrific.
Well, yeah, and you look at the most vulnerable amongst us, and I thought you hit on an interesting point, Tony, which is they let so many people qualify for this extended care or special teaching or whatever you want to call it, when in reality there are people who really need it who then don't get it or get a minimum version of it, or they get treated poorly because you're giving it to so many other people who have no business getting it.
And there's also the principles of inclusion. And this is a point that at first sounds a little uncomfortable, which is that I do not believe that a lot of students in special education programs need to be placed in high energy, high octane environments academically alongside other students in all cases. In some cases, it's fantastic. In other cases, it's disastrous. And it can be and has been, and I've seen it in person, in front of several students. We should be redoubling our efforts towards the care, towards, again, the life skill education, towards the social skill education of students with genuine defined mental disabilities and deficiencies, instead of wasting our time categorizing everything as a mental illness so that we're giving teachers these high-powered stress attacks by having to juggle. I think at one time when I was at Knightstown, I had, 42 IEPs, 42 students with mental disabilities that I had to keep track of on a daily basis. And that is not a high number by today's standards at all.
Yeah, and it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. Again, it's being investigated criminally. 3 of the teachers have not yet been fired. 2 have. We'll see what happens there. And look, it comes back to, and I've talked about this with people for a long time, the reason you have 4 radical leftists on the Brownsburg School Board is because they come out and go, well, we're the number one school system. And if you ask the average person, you go, well, what does that mean? They can't tell you. They don't know what number one means. But the reality is, even at number one, there's still a colossal amount of failure that takes place in the number one school system. The average person has no idea what that is. And yet these school systems, unlike any other government agency, gets away with massive failure and not living up to their end of the bargain with the taxpayer because they can use kids as human shields.
And think about it. Day after day after day, this is the stuff that's reported. This is the stuff we find out. What about all the stuff that hasn't been found out, that hasn't been released? And I do mean genuinely, the things that I have heard in teachers' lounges from old science guys around the table who would tell me story after story of teachers that they knew that were involved in illicit activities with students, that in situations of violence in the school that never came to the public because, again, the public school staff and faculty, as far as the administration is concerned, does try to get its way no matter what. And if you look at them and say, this is going on in your schools and we're going to hold you accountable, they'll look at you, they'll spit in your face, and they'll keep doing what it is that they're doing. Very rarely are situations like this caught. And it is the rarity that this pervasive, because again, this isn't a one-off kind of thing. This isn't something that happens in a school just by chance. This is something that is a product of the environment of a school that thinks it can do no wrong and that it is the ultimate authority. Yeah, and that is what came to bear in this situation.
And before we let you go again, Tony Kennett, our guest, this starts at the top. And by the top, I mean the Indiana General Assembly, who every year throws record taxpayer money at public education. They kiss the ring finger when these angry red-shirted teachers come to the State House. They pose for photos with them. They're afraid of them. And this is where the lack of accountability starts, because the public education system knows ultimately, no matter what we do, we're not going to be held to account because the Republicans at the State House are weak and afraid of us.
I've got one question here, and this is the education, investigative journalist coming out in me. Were any of these teachers that are currently being considered to be fired under investigation, did any of them come and protest in favor of Red for Ed? Were any of these the testimonies that said that children with disabilities would be abandoned and hopelessly hurt if their parents were given a choice to send them to private or charter schools? Because if that's the case, that really reveals a lot about those who participate in the teachers union-funded Red for Ed movement.
Yeah, well, a lot of questions out there in Brownsburg. We hope they get answered. And Tony Kennett, we appreciate you. Saturday, 1 to 3, it's Tony Kennett Show. Find him at the Daily Signal as well. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
93 WIBC, it's the Kendall and Casey Show.
We've all been through a tornado drill.
First, you duck, and then you cover.
So let's do another as we enter severe weather season.
Tornado warning in effect. Sirens were sounded.
The sirens will sound, and so will your severe weather station.
Closures with debris in your way.
Baseball-sized hail already.
We'll let you know when to
duck and cover fast wherever you are.
with watches, warnings, and everything you need to know.
15,000 people without power.
93 WIBC.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros. We continue to save our new customers 30 to 40% when compared to their present individual or small group coverages. Many of our plans feature zero deductible and zero copays, coverage guaranteed to age 65, and the largest network in the nation with 2 A-rated companies. We've been in the same location, the same phone number for 27 years. We'll be here when you need us. My early mentor in the insurance business was fond of saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always have what you always had. If you're unhappy with your present coverage and price, stop doing what you've always done. Call us at 317-435-1718 or go to rragency.org. That's 317-435-1718 or rragency.org. Thought for the day, if our country's such an awful place, why do millions come here to be free? God bless America, or at least what she used to be.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been solving garage door problems for 33 years. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today.
If your leaky chimney is at it again, there's only one place to call. That's Chimney Solutions. Chimney Solutions has over 20 years of experience inspecting, sweeping, and troubleshooting chimney systems. From repairing your masonry to waterproofing to chimney caps, they handle it all with craftsmanship guarantees. The Chimney Solutions team is Chimney Safety Institute of America certified and members of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. Call Chimney Solutions today at 317-757-6979. Online at chimneyindy.com. That's Chimney Solutions.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
40% savings on all of our products, plus manufacturer's rebates, and 20 months, no interest, no payments. Go to bwindow.com.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
See that sign? No shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Right. Learn it. Know it. Live it.
It's 19 minutes after 10. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC, taking a look at what people are talking about this morning. Now, you may not have seen this because, of course, you were listening to your favorite radio program, Kendall and Casey, and
Yes.
It happens to be on at the same time. But live, Kelly Ripa, she's got a new co-host, and it's her husband, Mark Consuelos.
Who?
Kelly Ripa?
Yeah, I know who that is.
Used to be Regis,
Yeah.
and then it was Ryan Seacrest,
Oh, yeah.
and now they're all gone, and now it's her husband.
Who is this guy?
Mark Consuelos.
I have no idea who that is.
His name.
Is he a
TV personality?
movie star of some sort?
He's married to Kelly Ripa.
Oh, so okay. Well, there you go.
And they are now co-hosting the show. They had their debut, and now people are blasting that they have painful fake banter, and they're slamming her for constantly interrupting her husband.
Oh, so it's just like most marriages.
She won't let him get a word in edgewise.
It's exactly like most marriages.
Let's take a listen.
We said, let's go for some exercise, and we used to run through the park. But
Yeah,
now
run.
we're,
I mean,
but
like
now we're-
chasing each other.
Yeah, but now we're walking. We also found out we have young friends. When you get invited out by your young friends,
Well, I'm
it's
not
so
sure
nice.
if I would call them friends.
They're our kids.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to behave in those
Yeah,
places.
you behave in a way that is so bougie and ridiculous.
Wait a second. Well, because we were told that when we go in, Lola's friend said, listen, the receptionist is going to look at you and she's going
So
to
they'll
not
find their
be very
groove,
nice.
right?
And then she's going
Well, who watch it? Who are the people that watch this? I understand there was a time where the Regis and
daytime TV.
But this is my question, Casey. There was a time in America where, there were limited options for entertainment, and Regis Philbin was a star of stage and screen and was America's good, jolly dad, uncle, whatever. And you would say, wow, and Kathy Lee Gifford, and she's married to Frank Gifford, and I have limited options. Great. In the 24/7 information cycle in which a gajillion options are at your fingertips at any given moment, who is the person that says, I'm going to sit and watch these two married loudmouths? Who are they?
Yeah, banter. This statistic may surprise you, but more people listen to radio than are watching broadcast television now.
Because it sucks. Is there anything on broadcast television now other than sports where you would say that is there used to be, it was Seinfeld,
Right.
it was Friends,
Can't
it
miss
was
TV.
Cheers, it was Dallas. There was these really great can't miss TV shows. All the good stuff is on cable or streaming services now anyway.
Right. And if you miss your show, like you mentioned, you can just watch it on the app or online anyhow.
If you are a person who subjects yourself to this crap on a daily basis, call our hotline 317-684-8444 and explain yourself.
Also trending, the Stanley Cup playoffs. They began last night, and the first goal of the playoffs was scored by the Carolina Hurricanes.
Ching in his playoff debut sits, and the Hurricanes load up the power play on a one-timer. They score.
There you go.
Sebastian.
First hockey game I ever went to was the Detroit Red Wings, and they ended up winning 8-0. And I thought, this is the greatest sport ever. The home team wins 8-0. Well, I eventually found out that not all hockey games are like that.
Right. And I think hockey, and I'm going to offend someone who's listening, because I know there are many people who play hockey, who like hockey, who watch the hockey. We have a local minor league hockey team. Hockey is a very niche sport, and unless you have some uber great can't miss figure a la Wayne Gretzky. I mean, hockey's peak was when Wayne Gretzky was with the Edmonton Oilers, and then he became a member of the Los Angeles Kings, and then when he started playing hockey for an American hockey team, there was the Mighty Ducks movie came out of that. So you get some momentum, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot of luck to go from niche sport to long-term accepted mainstream entity. Golf struggled with that for a long time after the Tiger decline, because obviously Tiger was the Wayne Gretzky of golf, and it was can't miss TV, and old people and young people and men and women would watch Tiger Woods. Now they have seen a resurgence because they have a lot of very good young players that are fun to watch. But man, hockey, I know there's lots of people who are like, hockey's the greatest sport ever, but
it is fun to watch because it's a fast-moving sport, but
it's very difficult to understand.
You think so?
It's very difficult.
And
the blue line, the red line.
The puck off and everything.
What did you say? The what off?
The puck off.
Oh, I was just making sure I heard
Face
you correctly.
off,
yes.
yeah. Wayne Gretzky, of course, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that's what Chuck Schumer did. He kind of missed. In one of the more cringeworthy moments of the day, yesterday he was welcoming everyone back, and he said, "Who's happy to be here? Raise your hand." And it was received by crickets. Let's take a listen.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Who's happy to be here? Raise your hands. Okay.
Okay.
Who would be happy with having to listen to Chuck Schumer? Like, okay, and I'm not just saying that because he's a radical leftist. Obama gets up, gives a speech. I can understand there would be many people who would be happy to hear Barack Obama because he is an incredible orator and a great speaker and lively, and if you like that sort of stuff, funny. I can see that. Who in the history of ever has woke up and said, I can't wait to hear Chuck Schumer today?
I do have an answer for you.
Who?
Nancy Pelosi. All right, let's talk about Jalen Hurts becoming the highest paid player in the NFL ever.
So he's the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yep.
They just went to the Super Bowl. They lost, but he is now on average. Now, it is not in terms of guaranteed money. So the NFL, the number that ultimately matters is guaranteed money. You can cut a guy, he doesn't get a portion of the money. But per year, he will make $51 million a year. And if he plays out the life of the contract, which again isn't guaranteed, but if he does, it'll be the most amount of money ever paid to a professional football player. Not in total, but again by per year, $51 million, $255 million is the total deal. And my issue on this, Casey, is, and I believe that people should make as much money as they possibly can. You should never feel bad about how much money you've made if you make it legally. But I think there's a major issue in this country as the upper echelon of society continues to elevate themselves. So professional athletes, you always see these record-breaking contracts. People like Jeff Bezos and the guy who just went over $200 billion in net worth. The very top of the food chain seems to be recession-proof. They seem to continue to make more money. And yet the middle class, which is the backbone of a society, is really struggling and in most cases not even keeping up with inflation. And I think that is a recipe for a disaster in a society because ultimately the middle class is the driver of an economy.
Yeah. Now, I would agree with you, but let me put this out there. Do you think that is the compensatory to the market for the most important position on a successful team?
Well, you're worth whatever someone will pay you. And again, I'm not being Bernie Sanders here in saying he shouldn't have to be allowed to make that or he should pay more in taxes. What I am saying, though,
the gap is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Is that when the guy who goes to the game is losing worth relative to inflation and the ability to feed himself and provide for his family, when that person is losing ground and the upper echelon is not only not losing ground, they're skyrocketing in terms of their ability to earn. I'm just saying from how an effective and efficient society works, this is not good when the middle class cannot even keep up with inflation and you have a bunch of the top of the line bringing in all the money.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, when the guy who goes to the game takes his family and it's a special night out and has to save for it or is practically blowing the month's entertainment budget to do that with the parking and the concessions to go watch this guy who's got a $255 million contract to play a game.
You know who is worth $255 million, though? Kurt Darling.
All right,
I bet he makes that in every year. Maybe that'll be his lead news story. Kurt Darling signs $255 million contract with WIBC.
He's up next with 93 WIBC.
Planning for retirement all comes down to what matters most for you. Is it a vacation home? Is it traveling the globe? You could call the team at Howard Bailey Financial to help you plan for your retirement and to help you have a successful and fulfilling retirement. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people, and I'm excited to share that Singer Financial is now Howard Bailey Financial, an Indiana-based retirement planning firm.
The Howard Bailey team possesses credibility at both an ethical and professional standpoint. They will deliver you a customized framework that allows you to create the meaning of retirement. Whatever you visualize retirement to be, let the Howard Bailey team customize a plan specifically for you. If you're ready for your best retirement, come forward and see the Howard Bailey difference.
Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities, LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
Tune in Saturdays 9 to 1 for the Home and Garden Show for plenty of advice and fun. Brought to you by Michaelis. Water, storms, fire, and foundation, life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Appeal denied. It's 44 and sunny downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:30. An American journalist under arrest in Russia appeared in court this morning. Fox's Jonathan Savage.
This was the first time we've seen Evan Gershkovich in public since his arrest in the city of Yekaterinburg last month. He stood in silence inside a glass cage as lawyers failed to persuade the court to allow his release on bail. The United States has declared Gershkovich wrongfully detained. He denies the accusation that he's a spy. If convicted, Gershkovich faces up to 20 years in prison. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
It had to happen sometime, and that time is now. Today is tax day. If you haven't even started or done either of your taxes, well, there's still hope. If you are in a crunch and you need to file for an extension here in Indiana, though, If you're a victim of storm damage in one of the 12 counties under a disaster declaration, you get an automatic extension under President Biden's disaster declaration until July. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
It's time. Time to empty your closets, junk drawers, and garage of all your old, unused tech. It's time to bag those batteries that bit the dust. Time to tell that old calculator its days are numbered. Time to tell your old hard drive a hard truth. It's time to go. It's time to recycle it all at Staples for free. Plus, this weekend, you save 15% on your purchase of $30 at Staples when you recycle that tech junk for Earth Day. Offer valid 4/22 and 4/23. Limit 1 reward per month. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/recycling for details.
Testosterone levels are at an all-time low. Individual T levels decline 1% every year. Chalk, CHOQ, is the new champion of natural testosterone boosters. Chalk's main ingredient is clinically studied to naturally boost testosterone 20% in 90 days. Supercharge your masculinity and boost your daily energy with Chalk's Male Vitality Stack. For a limited time, our listeners will get 30% off at CHOQ.com with promo code USA. CHOQ.com, code USA.
Indy's biggest party is back. Miller Lite Carb Day, Friday, May 26th with Brian Adams. With special guest Soul Asylum. Miller Lite Carb Day, May 26th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Concert pit and VIP tickets on sale now at IMS.com.
Healthcare.gov is here for you when life happens. If you lost your health coverage because of turning 26, going off Medicaid, leaving your job, or moving, you could be eligible to enroll in new coverage now. And if you need to update your coverage because of marriage or having a baby, you could also be eligible. But don't wait. There's a limited time to enroll. Check your eligibility at healthcare.gov today. Life happens. Get covered. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Damon's Garden Center West has endless varieties of trees, shrubs, vegetables, flowers, hanging baskets, plus garden and landscape supplies, and a friendly and helpful staff at Damon's West on Rockville Road.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. It's time to hear from you. Kendall and Casey present Voicemails. Brought to you by QC Kinetics for non-surgical regenerative medicine treatments at 317-559-PAIN.
I'm so sorry you have just reached my answering machine.
And it's time to hear from you with your questions, comments, smart remarks, whatever is on your mind with your voicemails. 1034, it's Kendall and Casey.
So we got a voicemail, and it's a little longer than a voicemail that we normally play, but I thought this person made some very good points. This guy, and we're not going to play all of it for you just because it was long, but the whole voicemail was wonderful. He is a former school board member from another state, and he lives in Indiana now. And he was calling in regards to the video that we've been talking about the last several days where the various administrators across the state of Indiana on camera admitting, these undercover journalists got them to admit, yeah, we do CRT, we do SEL, we do DEI, we hide it from parents, and we do that because we know they'd be against it. And so we manipulate the information that the public gets so that you don't know to object how we're indoctrinating your kids. Mm-hmm. And what people need to realize is that you're at war in this state and most states across the country with the public education system. You may not realize it, but you better wake up because they are trying to take your kids from you. And that sucks, Casey, that in a state where the majority of your property taxes that are skyrocketing and the majority of our state budget, which is skyrocketing, because the Republicans are totally afraid of the angry red-shirted teachers, won't do a damn thing about it, that you got to fight for your kids. You can't feel comfortable sending your kid to a public school where the majority of your tax money goes to. If you were to do a poster child for inefficient, ineffective, why government is the worst thing ever, it's the public education system. The majority of our tax money in this state goes to the public schools and they suck.
Yeah, 50% of the state budget goes to something that you probably don't agree with or want.
Yeah, you're 100% right. So this guy called in. It was an excellent voicemail. You're not going to play all of it on sizing up what's going on and some of the things we need to do about it.
The people who become administrators in the public schools, your superintendents and principals, largely come out of the ranks of teachers, and most of them have already been radicalized. So the pool of candidates to actually get somebody who will represent the interests of the school board, if you get a majority there, and more broadly, the interests of the community, there's got to be a way to address who's going to be actually be running the schools on a day-to-day basis, which then leads to the question, well, how do we fix this system that really needs fixing desperately? So, some people say we'll abandon the public school system. They'll spend extra money to send their kids to private school. Some people can do this, others can't. So that's not a good overall solution. Secondly, you can do what Governor DeSantis is doing in Florida. And I heard him speak at Hillsdale College a couple weeks ago. He calls DEI not diversity, equity, and inclusion, but division, exclusion, and indoctrination. And he and the Florida Assembly are taking steps to control what happens in the Florida public schools from the governor's level and the state level. To me, this needs to be an important question for you guys to ask whoever's running for governor, whether it be Mike Braun or whoever else. How are they going to deal with public education? Because that's one way to try and fix this. But the third way, and I think the best way, and I would love to get Tony Kennett's view on this, is to introduce market forces into public education to make schools more responsive to the community. This has to be the ultimate answer, school choice, to allow our tax dollars to go to schools we support, whether they be public or private. Thanks so much for listening. Love the show. Keep up the good work. And by the way, I agree with other people that said, since I moved here from Illinois a few years ago, I learned more from your show than anywhere else about what's going on in Indiana, and I'm really appreciative of that.
Wow, what a nice phone call.
Yeah, so let's start with that. He's right.
Yeah.
What we do between 9 and noon is the most important media event every day in the entire state of Indiana. When you look at how the voting now, look, Republicans are still winning, but when you look at how many people have walked away from the Republican Party in the state of Indiana over the past 2 years, 3 years now, this time slot, I think, can take credit for a lot of that. And ultimately, the people who take credit for it are the people. Because we can say all the stuff, but if you're not willing to think for yourself, and there's still a lot of people who refuse to think for themselves. They're still kneeling at the altar of various political parties. But we have been a catalyst for this, and I'm so proud of that, of how many people have been willing to engage in this show, engage with this show, and whether you listen to via the radio or YouTube or the stream or however, the podcast, we can't thank you enough because you have not only been willing to engage, but think for yourself, and more people will continue to do that every single day. So thank you for that. Yes, he's absolutely right. We are, sometimes I even amaze myself, Casey.
I just read yesterday that 45%.
Oh, that's funny, Cav. You can laugh at that. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just read yesterday that 45% of people are now identifying as independents.
Yeah.
Because of this very thing. They'll like a few things from the Republican side, maybe a few things from the Democrat side, but can't identify wholly with either party. And I think that number will continue to grow.
Yeah. But I want to touch on the other kind of the crux of his call and what he talked about. And it comes back to how we started this segment. The public education system, now not every teacher, I'm not in any way saying that every single teacher or every single administrator, but as you saw in that video, because you heard the truth on that video, and the fact that places like Martinsville and Plainfield are trying to tell you now, it doesn't matter what you saw, you didn't see what you saw, and we're not doing what you saw.
Well, except for the one lady, I think she was from Martinsville, who said she was calling the textbook companies and said, we want the content, you just can't call it that. Because that'll raise a red flag.
Right, but my point is the press releases from the school systems in the wake of the stuff is to tell parents, it doesn't matter what you saw. It doesn't matter that it was right in front of your face. We don't do that. But your administrator admits that you do it. It doesn't matter. That person, but in the case of Plainfield, that's the assistant superintendent. That's not a janitor. That's not a lunch lady. That's not a first grade English teacher. That's the assistant superintendent. Doesn't matter. We don't do it. These people hate you. They hate you, and they think you are too stupid to raise your own kids, and they're going to do it for you, and they're going to be as dishonest as they possibly can so that you can't stop them. You have to start standing up for your kids and getting engaged because they're trying to take your kids from you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Do we need to abolish the Department of Education? And I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders will be someone to look to because that was what she ran for governor on, that she was going to overhaul their entire education system.
Yeah, and this guy's right. These three people running for governor, Doden and Braun and Suzanne Crouch, they're clowns. They don't have any original thoughts. They don't have any original ideas. You got Silent Suzanne, who was cheerleading as Holcomb shut the state down and is doing all the stuff with education that he's doing. You can't trust her. You got Doden. I don't know where he's at.
Well, isn't he the one who wanted to give teachers more money?
That's right. He wanted to make he wanted to eliminate all taxes for the teachers that are doing the stuff. And then you got Braun. Well, he voted for the gas tax when he was in the legislature. So you can't, I mean, none of these people are going to do anything. None of them, because they're all ultimately part of the same establishment. Eric Doden was the economic director under Pence. They don't just pick people off the street for that. He's running this outsider campaign or whatever. He was the economic development director under Pence. There's no just guy lifted off the street or outsider that gets that position. All these people are going to get the same stuff. So you've got to start doing it yourself. And by the way, if I'm wrong, if Mike Braun or Suzanne or Doden has some big plan to curb this crap that we're seeing, you are more than welcome. I'll give you an hour. I'll give you the whole show if you want it. But you don't hear anything about it because at the end of the day, they're going to get on bended knee and acquiesce to the teachers union just like the rest of them. Because they're living under this delusion that these lunatic red-shirted teachers, who are clearly propped up by these administrators based on what we've seen, have some sort of clout or power rather than just being a very loud lunatic minority. All right, we'll get to these calls on property tax later, but I know Hammer's got to join us, and so why don't we just take a break?
All right, it's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Hey guys, very important question for you. If you could get a 35% bonus when you invest your money, would you take it? Like if you invest $100,000, you'd get a $35,000 bonus. If you invest $200,000, you get a $70,000 bonus. This could happen, and learn how it could happen and how you could get a 35% bonus from Bill Demery, your retirement guy. Casey and I believe in Bill so much, we became clients too. Not only will you get a 35% bonus, you'll sleep well at night knowing your money is backed by an A-plus insurance company that's been in business for 140 years and has $2.5 trillion in assets. To learn how you could get your 35% bonus, call 317-932-9912. It's Bill Demery at 317-932-9912.
Hammer and Nigel show, 3 o'clock this afternoon. The biggest stories in Indy, the biggest stories around the nation, and Tuesdays with Tony Katz, 93 WIBC.
Indianapolis is the crossroads of America, the crown jewel of the Midwest.
I'm Jefferson Shreve. I grew up in Perry Township on the south side. I've stayed pretty close to home. Indianapolis, Indiana is my home. The first part of my life was focused on growing a business. And in doing that, I've done some good. Employed quite a few people.
But with a crumbling infrastructure and record-breaking crime, can we still say Indy is a jewel of a city?
I think sadly, we've had better, shinier, happier days in our past than we are at today.
Jefferson Shreve has a plan. Hire more police, give them the support they need, and let them do their job. Because we don't have to live like this.
Strong leaders can pull people into a cause and motivate them.
What Indy needs now is a leader with a plan.
I'm Jefferson Shreve, and I need your vote for Mayor of Indianapolis.
Paid for by Shreve for Mayor.
Wealth-changing question. Has your advisor created a portfolio based only on your age and risk tolerance? That's simply not good enough. Your money deserves better, and so do you. At Creative Planning, our private wealth managers learn about you first. And then they create a customized plan and portfolio by partnering with our in-house money managers, accountants, and attorneys. Don't settle for a standard portfolio. Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
Owning a business comes with pressure. There's a limit to what I can do and still keep employees engaged. Fortunately, there's Insperity. They put 30-plus years of HR experience to work to help me with hiring, training, HR administration, and compliance, while giving my employees competitive benefit options. And because I'm able to focus on other priorities, my employees can thrive and my business can grow. With Insperity, nothing seems impossible. Insperity, HR that makes a difference.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer. This is Scott Willis running for mayor of Westfield. As a colonel in the United States Marines, I stood up for our country, our families, and our values. As mayor, I have the leadership and vision to make Westfield a world-class city. How do we build a world-class city without losing the qualities we love? We do it with transparency, integrity, and smart leadership. I am a lifelong Republican. I'll work to diversify our tax base and to lower residential taxes. On Election Day, experience matters. I'm Scott Willis, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Paid for by Willis for Westfield.
Talking on the phone is difficult if you've been exposed to loud noises over time. Combat veterans, factory workers, farmers, gun and motorcycle enthusiasts can have trouble hearing on the telephone. Relay Indiana helps return clarity to your phone conversations. A free service providing telecom accessibility, Relay Indiana allows hard of hearing users to have normal phone conversations through specially trained relay operators. Relay Indiana also provides free loaned equipment to those who qualify. Get the CapTel caption telephone from Relay Indiana. Visit relayindiana.com now.
10:48. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Hammers in the studio. Are we talking Moneyball?
Well, a little bit, because it involves the Oakland A's. They were the team featured in the film Moneyball, the close to true life story of the former executive Billy Beane that ran the A's.
Can you imagine Brad Pitt playing you in a movie? Because no matter how gorgeous you do not look anything like Brad Pitt.
Right. That's true. So if we're casting WIBC, the movie here, what are we looking at? So I feel like the role of Tony Katz is going to be played by actor Oliver Platt.
Yes.
I mean, that is spot on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spot on. We've been told that the Hammer and Nigel casting is Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson.
That works. Yeah, I like that.
Kevin is David Spade.
That's cool with me.
Right? So now we're down to Kendall and Casey. So, Casey, I want you to cast Rob, and Rob, I want you to cast Casey.
Oh, boy.
I got Casey.
Now, I got to say, I'm getting a real good Clint Howard vibe from Rob Kendall over here.
Oh, no. Rob, I wouldn't do that to you.
Well, because I had somebody really good for you. I was going to say Christina Applegate.
Oh, that's nice.
I could see that.
Very
Veronica
good.
Corningstone.
Very good.
I see that vibe.
I'll work on my non-regional diction.
Rob Kendall being played by Ron Jeremy.
Young Ron Jeremy, I hope, because now. Ugh. Okay, so the attendance in the A's game, they average just under 12,000 fans per game.
That's a generous number considering like opening days where everybody shows up then never shows up again. So there's a lot going on in Oakland with like a stadium deal and the team might be moving to Las Vegas. So the fans have not been showing up. And last night, a random, Monday night game against the Cubs. And the paid attendance last night, the announced attendance was 4,000.
And that's the Cubs, who have a national following.
Right. So of those 4,000, it was probably 3,000 Cub fans in that stadium last night. And if they're announcing 4,000, that means it's probably half of that.
And isn't that so wild? Because the Oakland A's have obviously a long, storied history. Certainly in the 70s, the Vita Blue era. Then you had the 80s with Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire. They were good in the 90s, early 2000s with the Moneyball stuff. So it's not like they're a team with no track record of winning. It's not like they're the Pirates who haven't been good in 30 years or more.
Right.
It's a storied franchise.
And it sounds like the fans are saying, we're tired of this Moneyball crap. We have a horrible stadium, and the management of this team doesn't put anybody out here, so why should we go? They are scheduling what's called a reverse protest coming up in June.
Oh?
A random, Wednesday night game against some unsexy opponent, like the Angels or somebody. They're going to just pack the stadium to show, if you put a good team out here, we're going to show
That's
up.
an interesting theory, isn't it?
Right.
What man. And why is
They're
it?
going to
Is
be
it
playing Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Right.
Who also can't get 7 people to go to their games.
I've been to Tampa Bay Stadium, and it's a dump. It's the only place I've seen indoor baseball at, but it's a dump, and it's not in a very good part of St. Pete either. It's in the hood part of St. Pete, nowhere near the beach, nowhere near the touristy stuff. It's next to a Burger King where there's a homeless camp.
I've been there as well. Did you see the Tampa Bay Ray that they have there?
Yeah, it's
the
like in the big
fish
tank.
in the tank.
Yeah.
Now, something that they had at the Oakland A's.
That's their
stadium.
attraction is a giant ray.
Yeah.
Well, and a pretty good baseball team.
Well, yeah.
I mean, their baseball team is really good, but nobody goes.
Did you see what was in, or did you hear about what was in the broadcast, the TV booth of the Oakland A's? A possum?
Yeah, there's a family of possum living in one of the play-by-play booths.
And leaving droppings everywhere.
Yeah, in the stadium.
Yes.
In the booth, and it smells so bad that the broadcasters had to go into the side booth.
So I have a theory on this. And you know who I'm going to blame? People like Phil Sanchez. Because I love Phil Sanchez, but Phil Sanchez guy is supportive of all these changes that they've made to baseball. And what these changes they made to baseball has done is take baseball guy like me out of baseball. And now people go to baseball. It used to be baseball guy in the bleachers at Wrigley every single year. We're going to lose 100 games, but darn it, we're going to have a time and root for our Cubs. Now it's an experience. You go for the restaurants around the stadium, or you go for the giant scoreboard, or the cushy seats.
Yes.
Or they have ruined it for baseball guy. So when you have a stadium like Oakland, which is not a state-of-the-art stadium, or Tropicana Field, baseball guy doesn't feel welcome anymore.
The Oakland A's minor league affiliates have all outdrawn the Oakland A's at various points in the season. So imagine that, like Victory Field here, the Indians, we're the AAA affiliate for the Pirates. Now, we have a beautiful minor league ballpark. Like some would say it's the best minor league ballpark, but you should never be outdrawing a major league baseball team. And the minor league affiliates, all the way down from AA up to AAA, are outdrawing the A's in attendance.
And this is why it's stupid that they're like, we need expansion in baseball. No, you need contraction. Because, Hammer, you will back me up on this. The reason pitching is so bad in many cases is because there's 2 teams worth of pitchers who should not be in the major leagues. We need fewer teams, not more teams.
If you move the A's to Las Vegas, I think you got a ball game. Because you can still keep them in the American League West. And like we've seen with the Raiders, the stadium will always be packed because it's tourist. Now, I don't know how many season tickets you're going to sell or how many A's fans are there. But if you're out in Vegas and there's a baseball game going on and you're there for a couple of days, I'd go check it out.
We got to have Phil Sanchez on this show to explain why he enjoys ruining baseball. Because back me up on this, Hammer. He's posting all the time. Oh my gosh, it's great that they made the bags bigger, and it's great that they have a pitch clock.
Yeah, that was great. They gave Cody Bellinger a strike when he was getting a standing ovation in his welcome back game to Dodger Stadium. That's what the fans wanted. They wanted a strike on Cody, not a hat tip to say thank you for winning a World Series and being an MVP.
What's the best stadium you've ever been to? What is the best stadium in your opinion?
Now, some of the best ones I've not been to. Like everybody tells me Pittsburgh Stadium is great. San Francisco is great by the water. I've never been there. Personally, man, I got to be honest with you. I like Great American Ballpark.
Cincinnati.
Yeah, down in Cincinnati. It's
because you can walk right up and sit in the front row.
Right. Tickets are super cheap. I park on the side across from the river at the Hooters, and then you can take the little boat right across.
You park
it's like
in
a shuttle.
Covington and then cross the river.
Yeah, and there's not a bad seat in that ballpark. Now, I know there's probably better ballparks. I haven't been to them all. I'm a Cub fan. Wrigley's kind of a dump. You go for the experience, right? It's not state of the art. You're going there for the atmosphere. But in terms of just there's a great seat in every single part of that stadium, you can't go wrong with Great American Ballpark.
That's the team I grew up listening to. Dave Concepcion.
Oh, the Big
Johnny,
Red Machine.
Johnny Bench. And
Wait, that would make you...
Pete Rose.
Wait.
Pete Rose, Sparky Anderson.
That would make you...
older than you.
That many years old?
Mm-hmm. Yes, more experienced than you, Rob.
My old man, Stone Cold Steve Hammer, was a big Reds guy. Like, still is. Like, he was into the Big Red Machine.
That's why your evil kid likes the Reds, right?
Yeah, Papaw got to my young one and turned him to the dark side.
Yeah, that's bad. But I do love that your dad got up in Joe Hogsett's grill and told him, get off my lawn.
The only portion of the city that has.
What's coming up this afternoon?
We're going to talk a little bit about this Brownsburg thing going on, Rob. Maybe you can swing by. And Tuesdays with Tony Katz.
Thanks, Hammer. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
In business, everything your employees do impacts your brand, including what they wear. Cintas has high-performance workplace apparel for almost every job imaginable. From work shirts and pants, to polos and khakis, to Oxfords or T-shirts, these clothes move, breathe, and look great. Your team gets the styles they like, you convey the image you want. And Cintas service includes weekly laundry and delivery. To learn more, visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Hey guys, it's Abdul, and I'm running for mayor of Indianapolis. You see, all my adult life, I believed in leaving things better than when I found them. As an attorney, I worked to leave my clients in a better position. As a teacher, I worked to leave my students better educated. And as a political commentator, I worked to leave my audience more informed. Now I'm running for mayor because I want the city to be in better shape. So go to AbdulForIndy.com and read about our plans to take a tough but smart approach to dealing with crime, our creative approach to road funding, and restoring public trust in government. You know, we all deserve a great city to live in, and together we can make that happen. It's not just talk, it's a plan. Paid for by Abdul for Indy.
The once-a-year jewelry event everyone waits for is here. Starting Friday, Diamonds Direct takes value to a whole new level with an extra 20% savings on just about everything. Rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, and more. You get Diamonds Direct's already unbeatable price, plus an extra 20% off. Thousands of engagement ring mountings included. Plus, acclaimed jewelry designers will be in-store with an expanded selection. All the latest styles and trends, all on sale. It doesn't get any better than this. Diamonds Direct store-wide spring event starting Friday. Get details at diamondsdirect.com.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/FREE. ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Imagine the possibilities of getting the backyard of your dreams. Expand your living space with an Indie Decorative Concrete patio. Indie Decorative Concrete, the patio experts, changing the way Indy thinks about concrete.
Receive 40% off all products, plus special manufacturer rebates and up to 20 months, no interest, no payments. Just go to bwindow.com. We'll take care of the rest.
WIBC HD1 Indianapolis, Fox News Now. It's 11 o'clock.
COVID was made in China.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the former director of national intelligence says. It's the only reasonable common sense explanation.
Coronavirus research in the Wuhan labs was responsible for the pandemic.
John Ratcliffe tells a House hearing China's been trying to cover that up.
From destroying medical tests, samples, and data, to intimidating and disappearing witnesses and journalists, to lying and coercing global health authorities.
A Senate Republican report just out says there might have been 2 virus leaks dating back to the fall of 2019, but Raul Ruiz, the top Democrat on that House committee, warns against
extreme partisan rhetoric or political biases that cherry-pick evidence to push a partisan political narrative.
Ruiz says 4 government agencies have concluded COVID did not leak out of a lab.
The intelligence community's assessment remains inconclusive on whether the virus emerged from either human contact with an animal or from a laboratory accident.
At a Senate hearing, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas just testified they're cracking down on drug smugglers and Mexican cartels.
Efforts that have resulted in the arrest of more than 9,100 smugglers, the disruption of over 9,000 human smuggling operations.
But Republicans accuse him of botched policies responsible for a record surge of migrants illegally crossing the border. Some in the House want to impeach Mayorkas. We got to see Evan Gershkovich today inside a glass cage in a Russian court where the jailed American journalist lost his bid to be released as he awaits trial, accused of being a spy.
The charges against Evan are baseless.
U.S. Ambassador Lynn Tracy outside the Moscow court the day after she finally got a chance to visit Gershkovich in jail.
I can report that he is in good health and remains strong despite his circumstances.
Southwest Airlines is having computer problems this morning, keeping flights grounded. Passengers have been tweeting they've been stuck on planes not taking off. The FAA says Southwest requested a temporary halt of departures. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Some of you get more time. It's 46 and sunny downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:02. Today is the last day that you have to file your taxes if you haven't done so already, but some Hoosiers impacted by tornado damage earlier this month might get a little bit more help from the feds. Under President Biden's disaster declaration for 12 Indiana counties, some Hoosiers with storm damage to their homes or businesses in those counties could get an automatic extension until July to file your taxes. Congresswoman Victoria Spartz during a House Judiciary Committee hearing held in New York City this week.
The city of Indianapolis has higher murder rates than the city of Chicago, and we have a Democrat prosecutor. He is not enforcing the laws.
And she says New York's prosecutors are doing the same thing. Republicans on the committee upset with New York DA Alvin Bragg, who is pursuing federal charges against former President Trump, and they say that's instead of focusing on what they say are crime problems in New York. It was a scary day for some students in Alexandria Monday.
Approximately 10:03, school administrators called the Madison County Dispatch and reported a threat going on at the school.
State Police Sergeant Scott Keegan, and it turns out that the call was a false alarm after they swept the whole campus and found nothing. Alexandria High School students are back at school as normal today. 4 teenagers arrested Monday morning in Lafayette for theft. Harrison Silcox explains.
A 16-year-old and 3 17-year-olds were arrested after a 2-month investigation. Lafayette police believe the 4 stole video game systems, cell phones, ATVs, dirt bikes, and even more over the last 2 years. They face several charges, including burglary and criminal gang activity. Police say this isn't the end. They expect even more arrests to follow. Harrison Silcox, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
And the Indiana Pacers had luck on their side last night. They won a coin toss with the Washington Wizards, whom they finished in a tie with in the regular season standings. The coin toss means that Indiana gets the 7th overall pick in the NBA draft for now, while Washington gets the 8th. The toss also improves the Pacers' chances of moving up in the draft lottery. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TIRE for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TIRE for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TIRE.
This hour is powered by Dammons West, Indiana's most complete garden center.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
The idea that because some guy down the street from you sold his home, you should have to pay more taxes is wholly ridiculous. The whole thing is a giant scam.
Casey Daniels.
Sounds like the Indiana Republican Party needs to work on their P&L statements. Taking this much, you spend this much.
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Tuesday, April 18th. It is 6 minutes after 11. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Thank you for joining us. You can follow along on YouTube. Just type in Kendall and Casey into the YouTube search bar. So here's the question. What happened to Donald Trump? That's what
it's like a cliffhanger. Who shot JR?
Right. What happened to Donald Trump? Well, that's the question that is being asked by a super PAC that is backing Ron DeSantis. And in fact, they have debuted a TV ad, and that's the question that they ask in the ad. What happened to Donald Trump?
I am always amazed at the amount of money these people get paid given the really crappy product they put out. Like somebody from the super PAC got paid to conceive and produce this ad. And I'm so disappointed in this ad. This ad sucks. And technically, I guess Ron DeSantis can still legally coordinate with these people because he is not a declared candidate for president. So for those of you who don't understand how super PACs work, a declared candidate for public office cannot coordinate with the super PAC. So that was the ruling of the Supreme Court years ago. When they allowed infinite money in politics, and that was how the super PACs got formed. When the federal government put a limit on donations to candidates under McCain, I think McCain-Feingold was the name of the bill. Then the way around that was the super PACs, and ultimately they tried to pass laws against that, and it went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said the federal government can limit money to candidates because they are the federal government and these are federal offices. However, you cannot limit a money to super PACs. So the way around campaign finance laws became to give money to the super PACs. However, the rule was that declared candidates for public office cannot coordinate with the super PAC. So up until the moment you declare, you can coordinate, which tells me Ron DeSantis probably knew or knows or approved or the people around him what's in the ad. And so I'm so disappointed in this ad as a debut ad. Why don't we play the ad and then I'll tell you why it sucks.
Okay.
Donald Trump is being attacked by a Democrat prosecutor in New York. So why is he spending millions attacking the Republican governor of Florida? Trump's stealing pages from the Biden-Pelosi playbook, repeating lies about Social Security. Here's the truth from Governor Ron DeSantis.
We're not going to mess with Social Security as Republicans.
What did Trump say?
Entitlements ever be on your plane?
At some point they will be. We will take a look at that.
Trump should fight Democrats, not lie about Governor DeSantis. What happened to Donald Trump? Never Back Down Inc. is responsible for the contents of this ad.
Okay, so there are a bevy of reasons this ad, I'm so disappointed in it. Number one, there ain't no crying in politics. Donald Trump is being mean to me.
Why is he picking on Ron DeSantis and not the Democrats?
That's your opening salvo is, he's being mean to a Republican governor. I thought
to be clear, that's the opening salvo from the Never Back Down Super PAC.
Which is a Ron DeSantis-supported super PAC. Right. Yeah. The opening salvo from Ron DeSantis, who's supposed to be this tough fighter guy, is they're being mean to me. Stop being mean to me. That's weird. Number one. Number two, nobody knows who you are nationally compared to Donald Trump. Now, people may know you're the governor of Florida. You're this good-looking guy with a good-looking wife and the kids and the perfect family, and you were the freedom and liberty governor or whatever. But they don't know you or your story. And it's the same thing I said about Jefferson Shreve, who's running for mayor of Indianapolis.
Right.
And you want to know how powerful this show is. Remember, within a day, they changed their ad. Remember, we talked about it, and within a day, they changed the ad. You should be only talking about yourself right now. You have this money at your disposal, or the PAC does. It should be showcasing who you are, right? And whether Ron DeSantis ultimately signed off on this or not, that's a weird thing to be going after somebody else when people don't know who you are this early in the contest. That's number 2. Number 3, is the crux of the DeSantis narrative going to be that we shouldn't make any changes to entitlements?
I knew you were going to bring that up. I absolutely knew it. As soon as I saw that you didn't like the ad, I thought it's because it mentions entitlements and that DeSantis says he doesn't want to change that.
I mean, if that's going to be the fight in the Republican primary over who will be more dishonest with the American public about 2 entitlement entities that are going broke, what are we doing here? If I'm Ron DeSantis, I'd be running an ad saying, yeah, it's going bankrupt, and Trump's being dishonest about fixing it and what's going to happen to it, and I will fix it.
Well, in the Never Back Down ad, which is supposed to be a pro-DeSantis ad, they make Trump look like the winner because he said, well, it's something we may have to look at.
Right. To me, it's like, okay, well, at least according to this, at least Trump's the only one who might be willing to admit there's a problem here. But if that's going to be these are the opening shot, the Civil War, or the Revolutionary War. What do we remember, most? This is it. That's what y'all rolled out with is he's mean to me and I'm not doing anything with entitlements. Really?
Okay, so Trump's got his ad saying Ron DeSantis, he's just not ready to be president. So obviously they're trying to counter that.
Well, based on this ad, maybe he's not ready to run for president. I don't know about be president, but gosh darn it, Casey. And again, I get Ron DeSantis may have actually not signed off on this. His people may have, but I find it very hard that a super PAC that supports an individual candidate would not have, and legally you can do this right now, coordination with the candidate to say, how you feeling about this?
Okay, so the ad began running on March 31st. They have $3 million in airtime. It's primarily running on Fox News Sunday and some digital ads. And one thing I would like to point out, I don't know if you noticed this, but in that spot, they didn't call it the left. They called it the Democrats, which I do think was a smart idea because in this stage, they're trying to say Republican versus Democrat, and they're flat out saying the Democrats.
Yeah, but man, you know what I could do with $3 million, Casey?
Make a better spot than
that? I could win the guy the presidency with $3 million, and that's the best you could do?
Of course you could. It's 12 minutes after 11. It is Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. So a new Rasmussen poll came out, said 61% of people believe the economy has worsened in the last year. Well, no kidding. And Joe Biden's polling numbers are the worst they have ever been. He's at 40%.
It is fascinating, though, that if we take the last election on its face, right? If we accept the results of the last election, of which I haven't seen any provable allegations of election fraud. Now, look, is mass mail-in unaccountable balloting totally ripe for that? Is it totally at risk of that happening? Did it probably happen in a place like Pennsylvania where they've said it's legal? Probably. But if we're going to accept the results of the last election, the American public, despite hating Joe Biden, is not sold on a Republican agenda, mainly because, and remember we talked about this last year. What was the whole campaign for the Republicans? Biden sucks. The Republicans don't have an agenda. There is no contract with America. There is no elect us and we will. There is no vision for the party. It's the same thing in this state. What is other than raise taxes and grow government, what is the mission of the Indiana Republican Party? I'm asking out of naivety. Do you know? If I were to ask you, Casey, the mission of the Indiana Republican Party is?
Well, according to Holcomb, it's his READY program. It's his giving a lot of money to education. Oh, he wants to invest like $50 million in trails?
Yeah, so you're right. So it is take taxpayer money from poor and middle-class people and give it to mega corporations. It is give angry red-shirted lunatic left teachers unlimited supply of money, and let's take taxpayer tax increases, which is the gas tax, and the war on truckers, the toll increases on truckers, and let's build trails.
Yeah.
And there's never any pushback from the Republicans. So you're right, Casey. That probably is the agenda of the Republican Party in the state. My point in all of this, though, is that if you think just because everybody hates Biden, he will not be reelected, based on how the ballot laws are working now across this country in swing states, you're dreaming, because the Republicans have yet to offer a vision. I've elect me and you will. I don't know what that is for the Republican Party. And if somebody knows, please call our hotline at 317-684-8444.
And that's why I mentioned it earlier. There are more and more people who are identifying as independents. Because of that very reason, they like maybe a few things from the Republicans, maybe a few things from the Democrats, but aren't identifying wholly with either party. More and more people are waking up to us versus them.
But where do you turn? Because look at a place like Indiana. Let's use Indiana as an example. It is so hard for something like governor or U.S. Senate for someone to even get on the ballot to run. They've rigged the system. The third party largely has no chance. I mean, and I know Donald Rainwater is going to be with us in a couple of weeks with a big announcement. I don't want to spoil that for anyone. By the way, if you want to win, you make your announcement on this show. Candidates, I'm not going to tell anybody.
Listen to the advice of Rob Kendall.
But there is a host of people who are lining up to make their announcements on this show in the coming weeks and months because they recognize the power of this show. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But the third parties largely have no chance. The fundraising, the ballot access issues, the libertarians do not have primary ballot access. The Republicans, once again, made sure that was the case with the most recent election. So people looking around and go, where do we turn? Yeah. I am an independent. I don't like either one of these groups, but the system is so rigged in their favor. What am I supposed to do?
Voting absentee, leaving it blank. So back to this poll, 61% saying the economy has worsened. And in the article, they mention, economists are saying there's going to be a recession at the end of the year. We've been hearing that forever. And I don't know what you would call it. It's your wages aren't going as far. And even more so now here in Indiana with the property taxes and the gas tax.
Your buying power has been diluted.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So it's not necessarily a technical recession, but it feels like one. And we're experiencing it now.
And the Republicans have yet to offer a vision to America. And you're going to see once again what a visionless party they are when the Republicans team up with the Democrats to roll over on the debt ceiling. Casey, when I make definitive statements, as much as people may hate me, when I make the definitive statements, they almost always will come true as it relates to politics because I know these people. And you're going to see it again. The Republicans will get some meaningless spending cuts that aren't going to make any difference, and then they'll walk out and go, look, we got spending cuts, which will be a drop in the bucket compared to the national issues. The party stands for nothing, and that's why they don't win elections.
Yeah. 17 after 11, it's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. And speaking of Holcomb, he took a victory lap, and we're going to get into that coming up from 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Greased up naked Florida man, 2 counts of burglary, 3 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer, so he fought with police. But the fact there was battery on an officer and resisting arrest means that one of those brave police officers in Florida had to fight this naked lunatic. And he's got things swinging and flying, and he's greased up too.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Tony Katz here for Premier Arms in Brownsburg. This is your premier gun store. Premier Arms has the experience and know-how to help the new gun buyer and the most experienced marksman. They've been in business for over 20 years and have a friendly, knowledgeable staff that wants to help you, not talk down to you. Premier Arms in Brownsburg is family-friendly, so bring the kids. All ages are welcome. Everyone can find what they're looking for at Premier Arms in Brownsburg, 3754 South Green Street. Online at premierarms.com. Tell them Tony Katz sent you. premierarms.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career and they talked to me about it.
He was done in just months.
I did do it online.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at My Computer Career.
It worked for me and I know it can work for you.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
40% savings on all of our products, plus manufacturer's rebates, and 20 months, no interest, no payments. Go to bwindow.com.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Mr. Bellin, will you take the ceremonial shovel? Thank you. And dig into the symbolic dirt. I hereby dedicate this building to myself.
20 after 11, it's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC, and some trending audio for you this morning. Mitch McConnell, he was joking on his return to the Senate. He said that being hard-headed serves him well.
The Republican leader, and on behalf of the Senate, the leader is welcome back.
Are we in a quorum call?
We are not.
Mr. President.
You're recognized.
It's good to be back. I want to thank all my colleagues for their warm wishes shared over the past few weeks. Suffice it to say, this wasn't the first time that being hard-headed has served me very well.
He's making jokes. It's nice to know he's feeling better as he returns. Also trending this morning, The View, very upset that Bud Light figured out that hiring Dylan Mulvaney was a giant mistake.
What are you so angry about? Beer does not have it's not a Democrat or a Republican.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a belief system. It's just beer.
Well, and the thing is, it's like, I think that these people that were destroying their own beer, which is also kind of dumb.
Well, thanks for the money.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to add one thing about the whole Bud Light thing.
Yes.
You know, they've been saying that this was a low-level marketing person who released that. Mm-hmm. And after thinking about it a little bit, that's plausible. You know, these giant corporations work with these influencers all the time across the spectrum. It's possible that somebody that they put in charge of TikTok, oh, yeah, you've got creative control. Go do what you do. And it never made it up to the CEO. So that means that these big corporate, they need to have a better handle on that, what their social media people are up to.
You're actually willing to buy that?
But here's
no way. You're too smart for that.
But here's the thing, though. When you work with influencers, you're supposed to work with influencers who are at least genuine, who seem genuine, right? And an influencer who's tapping into your target demographic.
Well, right. That's the point. That's why, and look, I hate to challenge you because you're brilliant, but there's no way they didn't know. There's no way if you want an influencer, Kim Kardashian's an influencer. Mm-hmm. If you wanted an influencer, then fine. They picked a person who everyone knows is very controversial. You know what you're getting into.
I'm just wondering if it wasn't somebody who makes far less than the CEO or any of the VPs. Yeah, you want to run the TikTok account? All right, go ahead. Knock yourself out. See what you can do. And this low-level person was like, well, gosh, that Dylan Mulvaney's really popular right now. Let's get him on.
No, they didn't pick him because he's popular. They picked him because he pushes a narrative that person, that woman, wanted pushed.
That VP of marketing?
That'd be like in my little side hustle that I've got. Mm-hmm. When they hired me, they know who I am. They know what I do. Mm-hmm. They know how I earn my living. They know I'm out there about my political beliefs. It would be like them going, well, gee, we had no idea that, that Rob Kendall was an outspoken, far right-wing radical, right? I mean, they don't do that. They like it because I'm good at my job, because I interact with people well. Mm-hmm. The majority of people who will come in may or may not know me, but the rule is I don't engage with people unless they want to engage. And if people want to engage, clearly they have a similar system of belief, and they're fine with that. They don't roll in one day and go, oh my gosh, what an egregious mistake. How would anyone have known we hired this guy? No, they hired me because I'm good at my job and it helps the company that I'm working with. And we all understand the rules of how I behave at my other job. Like, this is ridiculous that they didn't know. We had no idea this was going to happen. We picked this transsexual man who pretends to be a woman who is outspoken and hated by the right and by dudes, and our target market is dudes.
Okay, well, let me just add one more thing on this topic. Everybody keeps saying it, that he is walking around acting like a woman, 365 days as a woman. He's actually been saying for the past year that he's a girl, which I think is even more egregious. Because what does that say to 13-year-old girl? I mean, he's a little pigtails, and his entire attitude is that of a teenage girl, not a woman, not a full-grown woman. So I think that is even worse for the teenage girls that are out there.
Well, and that's, you just hit on the biggest point that many people are concerned about that is not getting addressed, which is the nature in which this guy is presenting and marketing himself. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to use the P word.
I know what you're talking about, though.
But it is it is very scary to a lot of people because of, as you said, he is presenting himself not as a woman. Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, whatever we're calling him now, is clearly presenting himself as a woman. Blair White, a woman, right? I mean, they're not women, but they're presenting themselves as grown-ass women. They've got the work up top, and they've got the boobular area, and okay. Well, regardless of what you think of it, they're presenting themselves as women. This guy is marketing himself many times as a little girl.
As a little girl, and everybody keeps posting and retweeting pictures and videos of him. You know what? Make him disappear. Quit putting his picture out there. Let's make him invisible, and then he really will have to go away. Finally, before we get into a break, Eric Holcomb is at it again, explaining/selling his budget. Here he is talking about that $50 million he wants for trails and $25 million for conservation efforts.
Through our Next Level Trails program, we're adding a major acquisition to our state's trails legacy. Once completed, the Monon South Trail will be the longest contiguous, multi-use trail in the state. Trails and land conservation are sweet spots for Janet and our dog Henry and me, and so many other Hoosiers.
Stop! I'm gonna do a thing, Casey, and I guess I gotta. So you have the governor of the state, who he knows that almost every homeowner in his state is struggling with crippling property taxes. His Republican legislature has one of the highest gas taxes in the state, which was his original signature issue, was the largest tax increase in state history. They're about to raise that again. He has public education caught on camera all over his state, admitting we are indoctrinating little children and lying to parents about it. And his sweet spot for him and his wife and his dog is trails. This guy's fetish with trails. I would love for a psychiatrist, shrink, whatever, to sit down on a couch with this guy and know what sparked this fetish that he has for trails, which, by the way, Casey, are paid for, and he never mentions this. What a gutless wonder. He never mentions that those trails are paid for by the largest tax increase in the history of the state of Indiana. He acts like a trail fairy, like Johnny Appleseed came along and dropped little seeds, and trails just sparked up all over grew up all over central Indiana.
Kind of like the textbooks.
This guy, I can't wait for him to get out of there. The only thing disappointing is the three people running to replace him are even less inspiring than he is right now. So it's not going to get any better, but at least he'll be the hell out of this state.
And just one last comment about this, because we've been sharing some of these PR rollouts that he's had about the budget. His delivery, for someone who's been doing it as long as he has, seems very affected to me. And
what do you mean by that? Because you're a professional broadcaster.
It's insincere. You can tell
Holcomb?
when he's trying to emphasize certain words. He wants you to feel it.
Are you saying that Eric Holcomb is a disingenuous ass bag who is totally full of crap?
He just seems so affected. Like,
is that what you're saying?
Can't everybody see through this? I hope I'm not the only one.
Casey, no way.
All right, we've got an interview coming up. Fred Glenn is going to join us, the Carmel mayor, and that is on the way from 93 WIBC.
Damon's Garden Center West has endless varieties of trees, shrubs, vegetables, flowers, hanging baskets, plus garden and landscape supplies, and a friendly and helpful staff at Damon's West on Rockville Road.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
The deadline is today, but not for some Hoosiers. I'm Kirk Darling for Window Nation. Here's what's trending at 11:30. It's tax day in Indiana, which means it is the deadline for you to file your taxes. Some people in Indiana, though, are eligible for an extension. John Herrick explains.
If you're in one of the 12 counties impacted by tornado and other storm damage that happened March 31st and April 1st, then you could have more time to file. If you had a home or a business severely damaged or destroyed by the storms, you now have until July 31st to get your taxes filed under President Biden's federal disaster declaration. Those counties under that declaration include Benton, Johnson, and Sullivan counties, just to name a few. John Herrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
You're paying $3.69 on average in Indiana for unleaded gas today, says GasBuddy.com. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Planning for retirement all comes down to what matters most for you. Is it a vacation home? Is it traveling the globe? You could call the team at Howard Bailey Financial to help you plan for your retirement and to help you have a successful and fulfilling retirement. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people, and I'm excited to share that Singer Financial is now Howard Bailey Financial, an Indiana-based retirement planning firm.
The Howard Bailey team possesses credibility at both an ethical and professional standpoint. They will deliver you a customized framework that allows you to create the meaning of retirement. Whatever you visualize retirement to be, let the Howard Bailey team customize a plan specifically for you. If you're ready for your best retirement, come forward and see the Howard Bailey difference.
Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities, LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
Learn how a Retire Shield plan from Crown Haven Wealth Advisors provides clear, straightforward retirement solutions that are custom tailored for you. This Sunday on WIBC from 9 to 10 a.m.
Premier Deck Coating, the ultimate deck protection. Who are they? Well, they're a sister company of Rhino Shield, and Premier Deck Coating is the product you need if you're tired of applying the same old stain and paint every couple of years to your deck. It's Terry, Stacy, and David and I have a deck that's probably 25 years old. The countless hours and the money that we spend on maintaining that deck never ends. And then we heard about Premier Deck Coating, family-owned, based right here in Indy, and they are going to completely transform our deck with their special formulated product, which repels moisture, scratch-resistant in virtually any color that we want, and backed by a 10-year guarantee. No more spending time staining or painting every year. Premier Deck Coating will keep our deck looking great for years to come. Premier Deck Coating can also do fences and pergolas, too. For a free quote, call 317-696-4071 or visit premierdeckcoating.com.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
High school sports teach so much more than just the fundamentals of the game. They also teach the fundamentals of life, like the power of belief. I'm Robert Falkins.
And I'm Carrie Rosati. We're both assistant commissioners of the IHSAA. In the second classroom of high school sports, student athletes understand hard work pays off, and they learn to be proud of their effort, no matter the outcome.
Successful student athletes support their teammates and learn to always do the right thing.
And most importantly, they learn to always believe in themselves.
When high school sports keep education in front of athletics, these fundamental beliefs outweigh the idea of winning at all costs.
That's why high school sports are a transformative and invaluable part of every student athlete's education.
Buy a ticket to your high school's athletic events and show student athletes that you'll always believe in them too.
This is the power of belief. This is the power of high school sports. This is your IHSAA.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Well, I got this guitar.
the next mayor of Carmel is heating up. 93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey show. And yes, in addition to picking the next mayor of Indianapolis, the other big municipal race on the ballot that's getting a lot of attention is the plan to pick the next mayor of Carmel. Mayor Jim Brainerd not running for re-election. And on the Republican side, there is not one, not two, but three different people who would really like that title. One of them joins us now, Fred Glenn. Fred, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Rob?
I'm great. Thanks for joining us on the DriveHubler.com hotline. All right, so there's all sorts of drama going on over this Carmel's mayor's race. It's what we expected. We'll get into that in just a little bit. You have said for a long time, and you challenged Jim Brainerd in 2019, you've said Carmel needs to go another direction, specifically as it relates to fiscal responsibility. Tell.
Well, fiscal responsibility, right now we got $1.5 billion in debt. Most of it's related to TIF financing. Not all of that TIF is successful. We need to do an audit of the CRC. We bailed out the hotel. We've had to put new taxes in place to cover all this stuff. We live in a very good community, Carmel, but I just think it's time to do a pivot and start bringing in responsible development instead of taxpayer-funded development. And go that direction instead of the direction we're going. And I think we're on the map now, so we no longer need to give away taxpayer dollars to induce companies to come here, entice companies to come here.
Fred Glenn's our guest, running for mayor of Carmel, Republican. There are three folks running for the mayor of Carmel. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's talk about that, Fred, because we've seen for a long time in Carmel, they have said, well, yes, we spend a lot of money. Yes, the government is from hotels to reflexive pools to palladiums. We're in all this stuff, but it's fine because it all pays for itself and it doesn't matter. Do they have a point?
Well, some of the stuff will pay for itself. It's tax increment financing. So what they do is they take your taxpayer dollars and say, and go to a developer and say, look, if you develop something on this land, how we ask you to, we can provide this amount of taxpayer dollars to pay for a certain amount of the infrastructure before you have to build the building, which will save the developer quite a bit of money, and it's quite an enticement. Most of the development that they do, though, is not profitable, and that's why they got to do it that way. And we don't know if this is going to work long term because we have not been doing it that long. This is not, I would say that some of it works, but some of it doesn't. And we can do this without using those taxpayer dollars because some of those TIF dollars have not worked out for the consumer or for the taxpayer. And some of these TIF projects are being paid for by the taxpayer. We've got something called a special benefits tax in place. So not all of it is going to pay for itself. And eventually we're going to have to pay the bill.
There's a lot of people, though, in Carmel. Look, elections are for public office are just like elections for high school class officers. They're ultimately kind of popularity contests. And there's a lot of people in Carmel who really like the stuff. And you and I might look at that and go, boy, the government's in a lot of areas it shouldn't be. But ultimately, it's for the folks to decide. How do you make this case when, for whatever it's been, 25 years or more now, you've had Jim Brainerd who has been bringing the stuff? How do you tell the people, hey, wait a second, maybe we shouldn't have all the stuff?
Well, for the first time in a long time, the two biggest issues that are concerning to the voters that will vote in this primary are debt and overdevelopment, specifically when it comes to population density. And I'm not saying that I don't like Carmel. I wouldn't be running if I didn't like Carmel, or if I didn't like some of the stuff that's going on. But I'm just saying, look, it's time to take a little bit of a pivot. But like I said, compared to 4 years ago, voters are very concerned about debt and they're very concerned about overdevelopment, especially when it comes to population density. So I think the message is there, and I think that our message is resonating with those voters.
Fred Glenn, our guest, running for mayor of Carmel. And look, I think Carmel, especially with the decline of Indianapolis, the importance of Carmel, and that's why we're more than willing to have you on the show. By the way, full disclosure, we did reach out to the other two candidates, did not hear back from them. They are welcome to come on the program if they'd like. I think Carmel's very important because, Fred, with the decline of Indianapolis, a lot of stuff now going to Fishers, to Noblesville, and certainly Carmel. Carmel's really a high-profile economic player in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, it is, and we got a lot of people that want to come here. We got safe, we got really good, safe community. We still got good schools. I know that there's been some controversy, and we're trying to get different candidates to run in this type of stuff, but we got good schools. This is a good place to raise your family, and we're starting to get entertainment options downtown, just like Fishers is. So, there's a lot to offer people that are coming to Carmel. We just want to say, hey, when you come here, realize that there's a reason that things are this way, and it's because of the way that we've been doing things for so long when it comes to public safety and that type of thing. So I think you're right. It will become more and more important. Hopefully Indianapolis doesn't decline that much. But we're on the map now, Carmel. That's for sure.
Joe Hogsett is doing his absolute best to hand you development, Fred. So hopefully you guys somebody at least will take advantage of it. If you need a warehouse or single family high density housing unit, Brownsburg's the place for you. But if you need something nice, Carmel or Fishers or Noblesville seems to be the place for that. All right, so let's talk about the drama in this race. You got two other people you're running against, and there has been allegations against one of these candidates that he's essentially like strong-arming people, going, hey, if you want to do business with this town, you better be voting for me, because if I found out you didn't support me, well, you're out of here. Did I describe that properly?
Well, those are the accusations, and the reason that those came out is because two of the candidates they're running, one's been on the city council for 12 years, the other's been on the city council for 16 years, and 90 to 99% of the time with those two candidates, they've been aligned with the current mayor. So they travel in the same circles. So if one person was able to get those developers, vendors, contractors, and that sort of thing, to only donate to him, and then say, look, if you donate to her, then you will not do business at Carmel anymore, that basically chokes her off from being able to raise as much money as him. And that's why she's upset, because they travel in the same circles and they go to the same people for donations. The reason that I wasn't very vocal in that is because that's not the people I'm going to get donations. Most of my donations are from people, everyday people from Carmel that just want good government. So that's why that drama is there, is because those two are fighting over the same group of donors that do business with the city. And she mentioned that fact, that they were threatened and not able to donate to her. Those are the accusations. But I mean, that people need to understand that that's the only reason that came up, is because they got almost the same platform and they're fighting over the same donors.
Yeah, this race is really interesting because there's three of you running. And as you said, the other two are, at least politically, kind of really aligned with the mayor. The mayor did endorse one of them. But if you're somebody who is, because the inability, that's what I was looking for. The inability to get rid of Jim Brainerd has bothered conservatives in Carmel for a long time. This probably gives them the best chance, right? Because these two, the other two, politically, are probably splitting, maybe not 50-50, but they're splitting that traditional Carmel Republican, Jim Brainerd, liberal Republican vote. You're clearly the most conservative person in the race.
Well, the thing is, too, what's also worth noting is in 2019, I run on a platform of serving the taxpayers, serving the community, and keeping Carmel beautiful. It's not like I'm running to tear anything down. And it's a practical thing with in the conservative stuff we're talking about is fiscal conservatives being careful with taxpayer dollars. In 2019, that resonated more than any other candidates ran against him. And we got the most against that mayor that anybody ever has, which is probably the reason why he's not running now. Will they split the vote? That's the conventional wisdom amongst some people, but we're not out there with that message. We're out there with a message that's saying, hey, we are different than them, and you do have another option. And I think that it'll even resonate more now than it did 4 years ago. But yeah, they're definitely running almost the same platform.
Fred Glenn, our guest, running for mayor of Carmel. All right, Fred. So what does the final couple weeks of the campaign look like? Obviously, early voting has started. People can cast their ballot at any time. I assume you're just sprinting to as many doors as possible. Because let's face it, with three people running, if you do as well as you did in 2019, you're probably the next mayor of Carmel. That's got to be at the forefront of your thoughts.
Well, yeah, but also in the last 2 weeks, things get a little bit strange. That's for sure. Like in the debate we did, I was told by several people that watched the debate that I did well, making my case to the voters. And one of the things that I mentioned in the debate was bringing in an outside audit. And I mentioned things like zero-based budgeting. And then all of a sudden, one of my opponents put that on her platform and put a mailer out. so there was a mailer in the mail yesterday from Councilwoman Finkham that had my platform from the debate on one of her mailers. So, that's the type of weird stuff you see in the last 2 weeks is that type of thing where people want to shift their views all of a sudden at the last minute to try to get new voters. And that's fine. But you're right. We need to sprint out there. We got a good message of fiscal responsibility. We got a good message of preserving neighborhoods. We got a good message of saying downtown, look, we don't have to keep packing in density of mixed-use development. We could focus on entertainment and dining options for our entire community and focus on neighborhoods and fiscal responsibility for the rest of the city. So I think that message will resonate in this last 2 weeks. But, yeah, we got to get that to as many people as possible.
Yeah, again, in fairness, we did reach out to both of the other candidates. We have not heard back from either one of them. They're welcome to come on the show. I got no dog in the fight. I don't live in Carmel, but I do think Carmel's super important. Fred, we'll get you out of here with this. Have you secured the most important vote in Carmel, that being the vote of Tony Katz?
Tony Katz, I don't know. If I went and asked him today, I'm sure he would not tell me. He would not. Tony Katz, if you went and asked him, if I went and asked him, he will not disclose what he's voting for. So I have no idea if I'm getting Tony's vote at all. I hope I would get Tony's vote. I think that we share a lot of the same, the same views when it comes to taxpayer dollars. And I know Tony likes living in Carmel. I do too. And it's not like I'm trying to tear anything down or that type of thing. We need to keep Carmel beautiful, but we need to pivot on development and do it in a fiscally responsible manner going forward. I think Tony would share that view as well.
All right, Fred, if people want to learn more about you and your campaign, how can they do it?
FredGlynn.com. And I want to remind everybody that early voting has begun. If you agree with our message, we need you to get out, because a lot of the times people that agree with that message don't get out in the primary. Early voting has begun at the Judicial Center and at the Hamilton County Fairgrounds, as well as in Carmel at the Will Funk Pavilion and Jill Perlman Pavilion. So you can vote in those locations early right now.
All right.
This week.
All right, Fred Glynn. Thank you, my friend. Good luck.
Thank you.
93 WIBC. It is the Kendall and Casey Show.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, 2 shootings and 1 stomping. We've got the full coverage. That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
Tamer and Nigel for Window Nation. Everyone loves a smart investment, and there is no better place to put your money right now than in your home. Window Nation has the perfect offer for anyone with a home at least 20 years old. Protect and increase the value of your home and energy efficiency by installing new Window Nation windows. Window Nation is making it insanely easy to do so with 0% interest for 5 years. Plus, Window Nation will give you 2 windows free with every 2 you purchase.
Go with the window company that has installed nearly 2 million windows, including mine, by installers with over a decade of experience using only top-of-the-line installation materials, which is why 96% of all installations require no follow-up service. Call Window Nation today and lock in these limited-time savings when you need them the most. 866-90-NATION and pay 0 interest for 5 years. The life of your loan, and get 2 free windows with every 2 that you buy. 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
For the first time ever since opening its doors, the Indianapolis Men's Clinic is now the only men's health organization offering an intimacy guarantee. That's right. If you don't perform, you don't pay. You heard that right. Restoring intimacy is important to everyone. Helping men with a proven solution is what drives success. That's why the Indianapolis Men's Clinic stands by their intimacy guarantee. Now you will have the assurance and confidence of proven outcomes without the fear of financial loss. By using the latest technology for the treatment of ED, acoustic wave therapy uses pressure waves to open existing blood vessels, which restores spontaneity and intimacy for you and your loved one. Stop trusting companies that feed you empty promises with no results. Trust an intimacy guarantee. Trust the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. Call the Indianapolis Men's Clinic today. 317-999-9000. That's 317-999-9000 or IndianapolisMen'sClinic.com.
I don't like to walk downtown anymore, only when I have to. Even during the day, there's so many out on the street, aggressive. I mean, I feel terrible for them, but at the same time, I don't feel safe. Every night, there's another story on the news, another shooting, something violent. And it's not even in one area, it's all over the city. Just the other day, a woman was robbed at gunpoint at church. At church. I heard that so far this year, our murder rate is higher than Chicago. Chicago! I'm proud of Indianapolis. That's just not what I think of, what I think Indianapolis should be. The only thing I can think to do differently is I have to vote differently, starting now, until it gets better. So I'm going to vote for Shreve in May. Maybe Hogsett gets the message. Or maybe we get a new mayor in November.
Paid for by Shreve for mayor.
Wealth-changing question. Are you keeping as much of your investment gains as possible? High taxes can erode returns quickly, so you need a tax-optimized portfolio. At Creative Planning, our money managers and specialists work together to make sure your portfolio and wealth are managed in a tax-efficient manner. It's what you keep that really matters. Why not give your wealth a second look? Book your free meeting today at creativeplanning.com. Creative Planning, a richer way to wealth.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
You are a pickle person. And the first time you got the McDonald's crispy chicken sandwich with those perfect rounds of pickle peeking out at you from the pillowy potato bun, you fell in love with crispy, juicy tender. Now, you are a crispy chicken sandwich pickle person.
Fall in love with the McCrispy Meal. A delicious McCrispy paired with medium fries and a refreshing drink like a premium lemonade. At participating McDonald's.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
What if the next time you painted your home was the last time you painted your home?
Our Rhino Shield has been on for 8 years.
Rhino Shield. Call 888-RHINO-41. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
The mountain is high, the valley is low. 11:51, it is Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Before we get into our last segment, wanted to give everybody this update. Jim Banks tweeted this out about an hour ago.
Yes.
He said that he received his honorable discharge papers from the U.S. Navy last week. He went on to say that serving our country in uniform was the greatest honor of his life. So congratulations to them. No matter how you feel about his politics, I think it's important to recognize those who do serve our country.
Oh, I agree
You okay
with
with-
that.
you okay with that?
Look, I've said that many times. I think Jim Banks, just like Pete Buttigieg, should totally be saluted for willing to put the uniform on. And Jim Banks voting for Kevin McCarthy 15 times or bailing out on the House after he lost a leadership election because I'm not going to use the word obsessed with power to run for Senate has nothing to do with his faithful service to our country.
Okay, so let's play another round of what in the world is Biden saying?
So this was him getting back from Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, we'll just play it, Casey, and I'll see what stands out to you about this audio from the President of the United States.
Okay.
Look, you all came from somewhere, and unlike my Secretary of Interior. But anyway, it was a good trip.
Anything stand out to you on that, Kate? Would you like to hear it one more time?
Sure.
I mean, maybe you missed it. Again, here is the President of the United States.
Look, you all came from somewhere, and unlike my Secretary of Interior. But anyway, it was a good trip.
The Secretary of Interior materialized out of thin air. Poof! There's a person.
We all came from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike my Secretary of the Interior.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, he just came back from Ireland,
Uh-huh.
which is where he's saying that his roots are from, right? His Irish heritage.
Uh-huh.
And the Secretary of Interior is a Native American.
Uh-huh.
And so we all came from somewhere except for, I don't know.
Boy, you're stretching.
I'm trying,
and I give you credit.
man.
You're trying
I'm
to make
really
it work.
trying.
You're trying to make it work.
Maybe he just is not a fan of the Secretary of Interior. He's just slamming. I don't know where they come from. Alien.
It happens almost daily with this guy. Where look, every person has the thing, and over the course of 3 hours, 5 days a week, 15 hours we're on, I'm sure somebody at some point each week goes, wow, that's kind of didn't make a lot of sense, or you didn't say that right, or whatever. But this dude, almost on a daily basis, says the most bizarre stuff, Casey.
And that little laugh.
Or you don't even, it's not that he misspoke. It's I don't even know what he was trying to say. I don't even know what he was trying to say, Casey, and this happens, it seems like on a daily basis. This is the President of the United States.
Mm-hmm. Kamala did the same thing. She was at an Al Sharpton annual conference.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what this means. I am unfamiliar. I'm going to have to pull out the Urban Dictionary to see what it means. But she said, don't fall for the okey doke.
These so-called leaders dare to tell us they are fighting for our freedoms. Don't you find that interesting? Some have gone so far as to name and brand their agenda the, quote, freedom blueprint. Don't fall for the okey doke. Don't fall for the okey doke.
She's ripping on Ron DeSantis, clearly. Don't fall for the okie doke.
And what is that?
Okay, well, the Urban Dictionary says that it's intentionally misleading agreement or consolation communicated with the intent of lowering the guard of the subject and acting in opposition to said agreement.
Okay, but if you're, Kevin and I were talking about this yesterday. I don't think you were in on this conversation with us off air. Mm-hmm. If you're a senator or a congressman or a vice president or governor or someone of high power and profile as a leader of a state or a nation, does it serve you well, to pull a phrase from our past, that the average person would not be intimately familiar with or understand?
Right.
Think about the effort we do a radio show, so we looked it up. But the average person is going to have no idea what you are talking about.
Yeah. I looked it up. I still don't know. Honestly.
What? These are our leaders, Casey.
One.
This should not be happening with the people who run our country.
One is saying they don't know where the Secretary of Interior came from, and the other is saying don't fall for the okie doke. Whatever. I don't know. Said like a true broadcaster. I don't know.
Hey, I'm glad you made it back in one piece today.
Thanks.
Where were you at, by the way? I have no idea.
We'll get into that later. Another time. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Kevin. And thank you for listening today. We're going to count on you to be back here tomorrow. It's Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC.
Greetings from R&R Agency, your Indiana health insurance pros. We continue to save our new customers 30 to 40% when compared to their present individual or small group coverages. Many of our plans feature zero deductible and zero copays, coverage guaranteed age 65, and the largest network in the nation with 2 A-rated companies. We've been in the same location, the same phone number for 27 years. We'll be here when you need us. My early mentor in the insurance business was fond of saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always have what you always had. If you're unhappy with your present coverage and price, stop doing what you've always done. Call us at 317-435-1718 or go to rragency.org. That's 317-435-1718 or rragency.org. Thought for the day: if our country's such an awful place, why do millions come here to be free? God bless America, or at least what she used to be.
Announcing Palavana Cubano, the newest and tastiest Cuban sandwich restaurant in Indy. Located in the Garage Food Hall in the Battle Works District, Palavana Cubano is dedicated to serving authentic, mouth-watering Cuban sandwiches, coffee, and pastries.